You're all victims of the algorithm.
I don't know what this world is coming to.
Oh, ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in between, yes, welcome to the Symphony of Thoughts podcast. This right here is a podcast about nothing in particular, just the ramblings of a ADHD black man trying to survive in America, as we all are nowadays. Now, make sure to subscribe to the podcast. You can find the podcast. It's on Spotify. It's on YouTube. You could, listen to the audio. You could watch the video. You can do both, whatever your flavor is. You can find that on Spotify and YouTube. And also, fuck with your boy on social media. You can find me on Twitter, on TikTok, on Instagram, I'm on Blue Sky, I'm on Substack, I'm on all them shits. Just search Trae_not young. That is TRAE_not young. Now, if you really want to get my attention, Twitter and TikTok are the two that I'm most active on. I'm trying to get more active on Instagram. Not on my personal page as much because Instagram is starting to feel a lot like Facebook did a few years ago, which, shouldn't be shocking considering they're both part of Meta, but that's a conversation for another day. But yes, fuck with your boy. Follow me and make sure to engage with the content. Y'all understand this algorithm game. If something pops up on your page and if you just don't pay attention to it, they're not going to push my shit out for other lovely people like y'all to find my stuff. So make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you repost. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Fuck with your boy, Trae_not young on social media. And if any and all of that is too difficult to remember, ADHD, I have a hard time fucking remembering things seconds after hearing them. You can find all of that on Linktree, and that is linktr.ee/Symphony of Thoughts. And at some point, I'm gonna get the symphonyofthoughtscom website where you could click on that URL, get you right to Linktree to find all the links. It's been a long time since I have done any of the stuff with web DNS and web domain forwarding and all that. So I'm gonna have to, dust off the old skill book to remember how to do that shit. But it's coming soon. In the meantime, Linktree/Symphony of Thoughts. You'll find all of those links that I mentioned earlier. And for those watching the video, shouts out to Killer Mike. We got the Killer Mike vinyl on the wall from his, I think it was his last album that dropped. I could be off on that, but his last album that dropped, Michael, which is an incredible, incredible album. I remember when he was first promoting this album on the Joe Budden podcast, he had said that it was a gospel album without it actually being like gospel rap. And I was like, what the fuck is he talking about? Like, that doesn't make sense. And boy, oh boy, is this a spiritual album. I fucks with it heavy. So make sure y'all support Killer Mike. Check out that album if you guys haven't heard it before. And then also for the people watching on camera, I'm rocking the Too Crispy tee right now. This is you probably can't read it, but it says heterophobic. Shouts out to Too Crispy, who is an independent artist that I fuck with heavy on social media. And I don't know what Too Crispy identifies as. I don't know what their pronouns are. I know that they have a popular song about their girlfriend thinking that they're gay because they dress in women's clothing and makes these songs. But Too Crispy be knocking out some motherfucking bangers from Dinosaur as My President to Heterophobic to Killer Fame. Like, they have a ton of dope. I don't even know. I don't want to call it pop music. Like, I don't know what exactly to call it, but like, Too Crispy goes hard. I fuck with them, so you should fuck with them. So yeah, and then again, make sure any of these independent people that you fuck with, you gotta buy the merch. You gotta subscribe to the channels. Like, that's the only way that we as independent artists can cut through the noise and make some type of some type of wave out here in this cruel world that's run by oligarchs and all that fun capitalism bullshit. But yeah, I mean, I guess speaking of all of that, we should just go ahead and get into the fuckery of this week.
So many people there, bro. I don't want to be around all them niggas.
This is before the pandemic.
I don't know them niggas.
Is it because you're an introverted person, or is it you just don't fuck with
I don't know them niggas.
Oh, got it.
Yes, sir. So, in life updates, might be homeless soon, y'all. Now, I'm kidding. Well, I mean, technically, I'm using the correct term. I don't mean like literal homeless, like I'm going to be sleeping out on the streets. It's not going to be that dire. But trying to figure out what my next move is as far as living conditions, as I have talked about on this podcast. I've been transparent about that last break after episode 12 was due to I had got laid off from a job that to be transparent, a job that I was making six figures at. I was making some real good money at that job. And I got laid off during the holiday season, and I was out of work for 5 months. I was really trying to stay within that field that I was in because, you know, kind of going back in time during my 20s, my entire 20s, I spent at working for a lingerie company that was not Victoria's Secret. You should be able to put two and two together who exactly that was. But I spent my entire 20s working for that company, and I had quite a bit of experience back then with like inventory control and some other stuff, but more importantly with like the AS400. And then kind of same thing, I've tried to like stay in that realm, but I couldn't really find any AS400 work. So then I moved over to what then ended up becoming the UCAS technology sector that I was in, which was unfortunate because then I lost, you know, that 10 years of experience with the AS400, and then leaving or getting eliminated from UCAS SAS. I wanted to try to stay in that realm so I can continue to build off of that 10 years of experience. But like I said, after 5 months, it was like, fuck, I can't find anything. And so then I was like, shit, I need to find some type of, have some type of income coming in, because I was at the point where I was just about out of severance pay. I had took out my 401k money, didn't have a lot of that saved, but that's, you know, story for a whole nother day. But you know, basically kind of the money that I was living off of, it was running out. It was like, yeah, I got to figure something out. And so during that 5 months I was out of work, I had put in a forbearance on my house. And so I had done a forbearance back in the day with student loans. I, you know, again, went to the Conservatory of Recording Arts out here in Arizona when I was trying to become an audio engineer. Had to take out student loans to kind of facilitate that transfer to that college to, you know, go to school for that. And shouts out, I actually did just finish paying off that student loan like recently. But again, that's another story for another day. But anyway, I had, you know, over the time of me paying the student loan, over that fucking shit, that was over a decade, but over that time that I was working on that student loan, there was a couple times when I had some economic issues, and, you know, I reached out, asked for a forbearance, and then typically, you know, you fill out the paperwork, explain the situation, and then they'll be like, okay, we'll do a forbearance for X amount of months. And then essentially when those months pass, then you just have to start paying whatever your monthly payments are going forward. And then that's just that. And that's how I understood forbearances. Now, same thing with the mortgage. After losing my job, I think I made like 1 or 2 more mortgages, and I was like, yeah, this is really eating into this money that I kind of have right now to survive until I find my next job. So reached out to the mortgage company and asked for a forbearance. They put one in, and then it was like a few months later, I had started getting, or it was like 2 months, maybe 6 to 8 weeks later, I'll say that, I had got a notification from them about, me being past due on the mortgage. And I was confused. And I called back, and shouts out to black people. I could always tell when I'm on the phone with a black person, and then, we kind of keep it real with one another. And I kind of explained the situation to the woman at the time, and she was like, yeah, they didn't explain it correctly. She was like, forbearances through us is like, hey, we'll give you 3 months off. But then, that fourth month comes, all that money that you didn't pay, we expect all of that up front. And I worked with her, filled out some more paperwork, sent it back in, and same thing. They gave me I think it was another month or so, but then same thing. It was like, yeah, when this shit is over, we want all of that fucking money at once. And it was like, shit, with my new job, not only can I not pay the current monthly mortgage as is, I'm not going to be able to pay all that fucking back. I'm not going to be able to do it. So, I end up getting with a realtor, and then unfortunately I'm gonna have to do a short sale on the house because unfortunately, I thought all the signs were with me, and I was doing what I needed to do at the time. Bought the house. The mortgage rates weren't that great. The interest rates weren't great, but it was like, hey, I had this stable job that I've been at for, fucking damn near 10 years at that point. It was like, I'm in a good solid place or whatever. I just got to ride this wave for a couple years. I can refinance, get all that situated. I'll be good to go. And then of course life got to life. And after that, and then here we are. And, so I'm in a position now, and as I was talking to the realtor, they kind of reviewed everything. They were kind of telling me my options, and one of the options, they were like, hey, you could get away from selling the house, and you could rent it out, and then use that to help you kind of pay the mortgage off. But then they were basically kind of doing the numbers, and they were like, but you would still have to basically every month come out of pocket another $1,100 to kind of keep the place. It was like, that's still too much. I'm not going to be able to live somewhere else, pay bills, and then still be, committed to paying, over $1,000 per month to keep this place. So it's like, okay, we got to do the short sale. So that happened. And then I moved into looking for apartment to rent. And I found a apartment that had reasonable pricing, and then it was not too far from my ex-wife's house. So then that would kind of, work out for the boys, where it'd be a lot easier for them to get, to and from, my place and their mom's place. Hell, even if they want to ride their bikes, it's not that far of a distance. So it was like, cool, that'll work. So I went down to the place. I was trying to put the application together online. I was running into all these issues. I went up there to talk to the, person, and they really didn't have answers for any of it. And so I worked on it while I was up there. They were still running into system issues, but we kind of figured it out and was able to get the application together. And then after that, I was like, okay, what are next steps? And they were like, well, you'll hear back from us within, 48 hours typically if you're, approved. And it was like, okay, cool, that'll work. So then 48 hours later, I get notified, hey, you got approved on these conditions. And the conditions was basically I had to either get a cosigner, or I had to do additional security deposit. And I was like, okay, I'll just do the additional security deposit. We'll just roll with that. And the woman was like, okay, cool, that'll work. And I was like, do I pay that now, or what do I do? And she was like, oh no, you don't pay that until the day that you move in. I'm like, okay, cool. So that's that. And that's that. And I'm like, okay, cool. So got a place, got that figured out. So I'm now starting to coordinate stuff. I'm putting in my PTO request for that day, because that's when I move, and I'm figuring out everything, and figuring out finances, a bunch of stuff, how am I going to move, kind of figuring out the logistics of that. And then a couple weeks later, I get hit up again by the apartment complex, and they're like, oh yeah, your income didn't meet the requirement. So you need to prove even more income to get approved. And then so I called back, and I was like, I'm confused. I'm like, y'all said that I got approved, and then y'all sent me the thing to sign into the create my profile for the residence portal. And I was like, every 2 to 3 days, you're emailing me, hey, your move is in XYZ days. Did you get this done? Hey, your move is in this many days. Did you get this done? And so I'm like, I'm confused. And then again, that same person that I've talked to multiple times that does not have answers anytime I talk to them, again, did not have fucking answers. So I'm like, okay, I'm confused. And then so I had asked her some follow-up questions. Like I said, she didn't have answers for it. So then she was like, I'll talk to my manager. I'll get back with you. She said she was going to get back to me before the day was over. The day came and went. I did not hear back from her. So then I called back the next day. Phone rang, so many times, and it rolled over to the third party answering service. Talked to someone over there who also couldn't help because they're like, well, we're just answering service. You got to actually talk to the property people. And so I was like, okay, well, these are my questions. I was like, can you pass the message on and then have them follow up with me? And they were like, okay, cool. Yeah, we'll do that. Next day came, still didn't hear from this apartment again. So then I reached out to them again. Same thing, it rung so many times, rolled over to this third party answering service. And again, explained the situation. Like, this is what I'm confused about. This is specifically what I'm looking for. And I was like, if it's too difficult for them to call me during my during their work hours, because also, I have weird work hours now where I get off super late. I was like, they could just shoot me an email, and then, I could, we can kind of go from there if email would be easier. And so they're like, hey, cool, we'll get that message over to them. And, I'm like, okay, cool. So then I get an email and it's like, hey, your application has been approved. If you're going through with the additional security deposit, this is what you click to get that set up. And then I'm like, okay, cool. That's that. So then I did have some questions about that additional link that they sent me over because it was, again, something else that you got to fill out to get qualified for. So then I called the apartment complex again now, and then I'm talking to someone on the phone, or I'm talking to the same woman again that whenever I do get someone to answer the phone over there, it's the same woman every single time who doesn't have answers for anything. And so then when I'm talking to her, I'm like, hey, yeah, this is so-and-so. I'm calling back about my application. And then, I got this link about, setting up this Jedi security deposit. Can you tell me more about that? And then she's like, oh, no, you didn't qualify for the apartment. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she was like, well, the last time we talked, I told you weren't qualified. And I was like, yeah. And then I had follow-up questions that then you said you were going to talk to your manager about. I never heard back from you. I reached out to y'all multiple times. And then I told the answering service that if you could just email me, if that would be easier. And then I got an email saying that the application was approved. So that's why I thought we were at a new step. And she was like, oh, no, you didn't get qualified. And now at this point, I'm frustrated because this woman, God bless her, she doesn't seem like the brightest person. And I'm not trying to say that, or let me not say that. Because she doesn't seem like an unintelligent person. She seems like this scope of work is beyond her. And she only knows like the canned responses, and she can't really explain anything outside of that. We've all dealt with that where you work with someone at some business and then you run into some issue and then you have a specific question and they can't answer that question because you could tell they don't understand the process. They just know, well, when issue A happens, I respond with this. And then when issue B happens, I respond with that. So like, it was like, I'm not getting anywhere. So then I was like, is your manager available? Like, I'm trying not to be a Karen, but it's like, I'm not getting anywhere with you. And like, we're fucking 3 weeks into this back and forth thing, and we're not making any headway. Like, I need to talk to a manager. Manager wasn't available, but then she was like, I'll send you over an email so you can schedule a call with the manager, talk to him. I'm like, okay, cool. And then this time she does actually send me an email with the email signature of the manager. So then I book a call to talk to the property manager. Excuse me. So then next day comes up. And I had booked the call from like 11 to 11:30, and then at like fucking 10:42, my phone rings. I'm using the bathroom and my phone rings and I see that it's that apartment complex and I'm like, shit, this is like damn near 20 minutes sooner than when I thought we were going to have the call, but let me go ahead and answer it. And so I answer it, and it is the woman I booked the call with. And then, like, I could hear a call going on in the background. And she's like, oh, hey, I was just calling to see. I know our call is in like 20 minutes, but I'm not going to be able to make that call because I'm on another call that's going to last hours. So, like, if you have time to talk now, I have time now, or we're going to have to reschedule. I'm like, okay, no, we could talk now. And then, again, I can tell this is a black woman. And then, so my guard is down. That's when it comes. I trust my people. I especially trust black women. So it's like I trust that I can keep it a buck with you. You're gonna keep it a buck with me, and we have a conversation. And basically, she explains to me, the first approval was based off of your credit, and she was like, that's all the application was saying, was that your credit check passed. She was like, but then the income didn't pass because the income over the past couple of months have been inconsistent. And a lot of that is, unfortunately in this delivery world that I'm learning, that first month I was there, we're going through training. So, I hadn't ramped up to full-time hours. And then even the month of June, even though technically I am full-time, it kind of still depends on the routes. Like they'll give you a route that should take X amount of hours, but sometimes it doesn't take that long, or sometimes it takes longer. So like that trying to hit 40 hours is always like a swinging pendulum. So then as a result, my hours kind of varying all over the place over the past 2 months of what it checked. It was like, you only are currently making X amount of money, and that doesn't qualify. And then basically she explains that those are automated emails. It should have explained this in this fashion. And she was like, I completely understand like why you're upset. Like, my bad. I'm gonna take screenshots of this. I'm gonna send this to someone else. And then at one point during the call, she apologized. She was like, I'm so sorry. She was like, can I put you on hold? I gotta say something on this other call. And it reminded me of the corporate life that I just came from, where there's not enough butts in seats. There's way more work than it is people available to do the work. And especially when you're in a leadership position, they have you at 12 places at once. I remember literally there would be times when I would be booked on 4 meetings at the same exact time. And it's like, I don't know how I'm supposed to make 4 meetings at once. Like, I can't do this. And just, this is where we are at in America today. And again, that fucking thing, capitalism, that I always talk about is, again, businesses don't give a fuck. Capitalism is a cancer, and it's going to maximize its profits while minimizing its overhead. That's all that fucking capitalism does. And so it was like, dang, like, I felt bad because I was like, I know what this woman is going through, and I'm not mad at her. I'm mad at the system. So I can't be upset with her. So I had the conversation with her. She gave me the information to another place that I could talk to that kind of helps people in my situation of trying to actually find something within my qualifying rate of the, having to make 3 times the rent. And essentially they could help do the process without you having to pay application fees and, do deposits everywhere you go. Like, they can kind of help you find the specific place and then, save some money and all that. So I was like, okay, cool, I'll go ahead and do that. And so that's where I'm at. By definition, the house is supposed to start going on sale next week on Thursday. And then again, when it comes to selling, like, it could get sold in 3 days. It could take 3 to 12 months to sell. Who fucking knows? You don't know it. Yeah. But in the meantime, with how fucking behind I am on the mortgage now, and me having never been in this situation, I would be much more comfortable to solidify a place so that I can get my stuff out of here. So then, worst case scenario, at least I have all of my belongings where they need to be, and then I can figure out all the house stuff while it's empty. So that's where I'm at, and trying to just kind of figure out the next step in life and all this shit. And I don't know. I'm still like in a place of like, of course, being ADHD and being the emotional, what is it? I'm a Gemini on the cusp of Cancer. My birthday's on the last day of Gemini, so you know I'm 75% Gemini, 25% Cancer, and Cancers are also sensitive and emotional. I can't, you know, lie that you know some days are fucking sensory overload, overwhelming. It's like I just want to not talk to anybody and just not do any, just be away from everything, because it's like, fuck, what is the next move? I'm not in control of what's going on right now. But you know, I'm just kind of, I don't know, I'm riding this out and we'll figure out what the fuck happens from here. And it's one of those things where, you know, I do say everything happens for a reason. And while I do further say, like, is the universe fair and just? I'm going to say no, because, you know, in my 43 years of living, I still have not seen any evidence of that there is any actual balance with the good and the bad. And it just seems like, you know, there are some fucked up people in this world that just excel and just bad karma never comes on them. And, you know, some good people that just fucking bad luck is their best friend. And so like I don't believe the universe is fair and just, but I again do believe that everything happens for a reason. And as I have talked about at lengths over the, you know, past however many episodes, again, I'm going through this transformative 10-year phase where like all of this seems to be happening for a specific reason. And so I could just ride this and see where this journey takes me and kind of go from there. And again, it all takes me back to a quote that I saw that I just keep. It's like what did Morpheus say in the Matrix? It's like a splinter in your brain that you just can't get out. There was this quote that said, when you pretend to be someone you aren't, you inevitably attract environments and opportunities that aren't meant for you. And that is what I have kind of summarized the last 10 years of like this massive everything around me that I thought, you know, all the plates, all the things that I was balancing one by one, these plates are falling and breaking. And I'm like, what the fuck? I thought I had all of this shit in control, and all these things that I thought were mine are, you know, kind of dissipating, if you will. But again, it is this transformation I'm going through that I think once I get to the end of that road, I'll be in the place and in the environments and around the people that I'm supposed to be, instead of the environments of the people that I was around and dedicating my life to that did not really give a fuck about me, but gave a fuck about what I can do for them. And that's kind of where we're at with that. So... I did recently, last week, I had a appointment with my therapist. I don't know what her exact title is, but she's the one that's been helping me with like the depression meds and the ADHD meds. And she's the one that got me with the behavioral person to, you know, see if I was autistic and ADHD and all that. And so I just kind of summarize it. She's been, you know, my therapist for the past couple of years now. It was funny. I just, you know, had a follow-up session with her last week about adjusting my meds and my ADHD meds, because it was like everything else, the anxiety is in control, the depression is in control. Of course, some days are better than others, but I was like, it's all in control. It's not to the point like it was a couple months ago when I was having days where I couldn't even just fucking get out of bed. I just like completely gave up. But I was like, everything seems like it's getting a lot better. I was like, the one thing that I'm still struggling with is that ADHD and that focus. So we're talking about that and what we can do to kind of address that, and, you know, getting her up to speed with everything that's going on in my life. And I just cracked up laughing on the drive home, because she was like, she had said to me, she's like, I don't know how you're keeping yourself together with all this stuff that has been going on with you. She was like, I would have broken down by now. And it's absolutely fucking hilarious to hear from a therapist like, nigga, you got it. Like, I would have been like, yo, fuck this shit. Like, what is going on at this point? So, yeah, so shouts out to her, shouts out to life and all this funny stuff. And just a reminder to all the people out there who know me and interact with me, you know, in real life, if you hit me up and I take a while to get back to you, don't take it personal. It's me, not you.
I am so sorry for not replying you. Love is overwhelming me and I withdrew. If I show year is 1992, when a fool did something I do not take kindly to.
You have nothing to lose, because nothing belonged to you to begin with. The job, the relationship, the money, the people. You were borrowing all of it. Temporary custody of things that were never yours to keep. When you understand that, loss changes. It stops feeling like theft and starts feeling like return. You're not losing something, you're just giving back what was never promised to stay. The tighter you grip, the more it hurts when it goes. But if you never owned it, there's nothing to grieve. Hold things loosely. Love deeply, but don't cling. Nothing was ever yours. And somehow, there is freedom in that.
So I guess moving on to someone who will not be getting back with us, U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham is dead. Yes, indeed. The official social media page for Graham, who's a Republican senator out of South Carolina, posted a statement on Twitter saying that on the evening of Saturday, July 11th, U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham passed away from a brief and sudden illness. Lindsay, little background on Lindsay for those who aren't politically savvy. I have a lot of political opinions. I never act like I know all the things. I have opinions from, what I know. But to always make sure that, my listeners are educated in what I'm talking about and, having, some background. Lindsay was sworn into the Senate in 2003. He's considered the Senate whisperer, and he's constantly in touch with President Trump. And Trump said on CNN on Sunday that he had spoke with Lindsay a few hours before his sudden death. And one of the things that is interesting, because Graham is considered one of the most influential senators in the U.S. Congress, and he just is one of the other yes man for Trump. Anything that Trump says, he goes out and he does his bidding and he pushes his agenda, even though they were fucking political rivals before Trump got in office. But again, that's how all those Republicans were. Any of us who were actively paying attention the first time that Trump was running for president, all those Republicans were like, yo, he's not a Republican. Yo, we don't fuck with him. We don't fuck with MAGA. We don't like none of that shit. We different. He shouldn't even be here. And then the second he blew up, they all just got on their knees to start sucking this man's dick. But I say all that to say that Lindsay, passed. And so I don't know the law that well, exactly how, all the inner workings of that works. But the senator position is a fairly important position. So that's part of the reason why you want to vote for these things and make sure that you get the right representation in these meetings and, all these things, because they could sway certain things to go in certain directions. And in his demise, they gave his sister the job. Yeah, 3 days after the sudden death of Lindsey Graham, his politically inexperienced sister, Darlene Graham Nordon, was sworn in last Tuesday to fill his vacant seat at the suggestion of United States President Donald Trump to inherit his office and powers. As I mentioned, Graham was one of the Senate's strongest advocates for Israel's genocidal war on Gaza. He was one of those people who, it's go U.S., it's go Israel, neck and neck, same thing. He's rocking with them. And Graham repeatedly argued against imposing limits on U.S. military and rejected calls for ceasefire. He's one of the people who was very prominent in, bomb the shit out of Iran, do whatever the fuck you got to, use brutal force to make sure them motherfuckers ain't ever got nukes, because we the only ones that can have nukes, except the other motherfuckers over there that got nukes like Russia and China. We don't fuck with them because they got the same guns. But Iran, y'all motherfuckers, we don't fuck with you. You better not have that same shit that we got. Y'all gotta keep that shit light over there. That had been, Lindsey Graham's case, and he's been aligning with Trump in these things for quite some time now. And now Lindsey Graham, when he died, he was unmarried and without children. And there's a rabbit hole of closeted sissy things that you can go through. Quite a few people within the queer community has called out that is a gay man. We could see that is a gay man. That is someone who is not keeping in a bean with y'all. But regardless, unmarried and no children. So his position got inherited by his sister. And his sister, Darlene, was formerly active in South Carolina's local government, but had no experience in any type of elected political capacity. Now, of course, as I have been saying, like, we should not be surprised by any of this, because this new, I call it new MAGA from the administrative side of it, because the first time Trump got in office, yes, there were a lot of people who got on his side because he was just the Republican president. And I've said it quite often that Republicans do a real good job of supporting one another, regardless of if they, check every single box. Like, Republicans support one another. Republican voters will get out there and vote no matter what. They are always energized to rock with their people, as opposed to on the left, it always has to be the perfect candidate, or, it's this one thing that I care about, and I don't care if they're great at all these other things. It's this one thing that's the only thing I care about, and I don't like the thing that they say, so now I'm going to withhold my vote, or I'm not going to be energized to get out and vote. That's kind of a bit where the two parties kind of don't align. But that original MAGA was a bunch of Republicans that were kind of rocking with Trump in the capacity of a business sense, even similar to Mike Pence. Mike Pence was his vice president, even though I don't think Mike Pence really agreed with Trump in a lot of things. And I don't really think that he really cared for the man too much. And I think that's part of the reason why during January 6th, we saw the whole they were there to hang Mike Pence too. And if Mike Pence was there, the motherfuckers would have killed him because he would not help steal the fucking election. Mike Pence was a piece of shit, but he's stood on his shit and wouldn't fold to Trump. And that is the reason why the second time Trump became president, he did not want Pence, who stood his ground on his own fuck shit. He wanted J.D. Vance, because J.D. Vance is a pussy who's going to say and do whatever he does. He's a puppet. So is Kash Patel, and so is fucking all of them. I'm drawing a blank on a bunch of their names. I can see all their KKK faces, but all these people that work for Trump are just unqualified yes men. Again, Linda McMahon, former fucking or wife of fucking WWE Vince McMahon. She runs the Department of Education. Fucking Kash Patel, who is a drunk, runs the fucking FBI. Pete Hegseth, who is an open white supremacist with white supremacist tattoos, a former fucking podcaster. He runs the Department of War, or whatever the fuck they call it now. Like, these are all unqualified people who were put in positions to just say yes to Trump. So yes, I am not surprised that someone who is politically inexperienced, like Lindsey Graham's sister, is now in a position of power, because we don't need anyone educated. We need motherfuckers who are just going to repeat the shit that we tell them to repeat. And it's crazy, because I thought y'all hated DEI. I thought that was the whole thing. Like, when this new Trump administration came out, they were, hey, man, fuck that diversity, equity, and inclusion. Fuck all that shit. But then again, all his friends and his buddies and his podcast people, they're all the people that are getting all these jobs. So again, it's not DEI that y'all didn't like. It's fucking minorities is what y'all don't like. Lord have mercy. But another little piece with this story that was interesting is that after his death, nearly 20 FBI and other federal agents were at Graham's home near the Capitol this last Monday, and FBI Director Kash Patel has said his agency is assisting local authorities in investigating Lindsey Graham's death. But Trump now has come out to say that the FBI is wasting their time investigating Lindsey Graham's death. So, the president was reportedly responding to reporters in the Oval Office who asked him why FBI agents were at Graham's home just blocks away from the Capitol on Monday after the 71-year-old senator's death, the previous Saturday night. And Trump responded, I don't see a lot of evil there. I know there's all sorts of conspiracy theories going along, and I think the FBI is wasting their time if they're doing that. Now, the official reason for Lindsey Graham's death is that, Washington's chief medical examiner said that a preliminary examination of Graham found a rupture of his aorta due to a hardening of his arteries. And when Lindsey Graham died, I'm just speaking for me personally, I did not think there was anything fishy about his death. But now that Trump has gone out of his way to say that the FBI is wasting their time, now I think there's more to this story. Because again, whatever Trump says, it's the opposite. Like, Trump could have came out and would have been like, Antifa killed him. I would have been like, oh, okay, so he died in natural causes. Like, that is how you have to interact with this fucking propaganda that comes from this current administration. And I did do some looking, and apparently this is now looking into it, it does look a little weird. I get why, some conspiracies may be coming up, but he was in Ukraine with President Zelensky on Friday, July 10th, advocating for the continued defense support and discussing some U.S. foreign policy items. The next day, he flew across the Atlantic, arrived back at his private residence, and then hours later, emergency personnel responded to a call regarding a person in a cardiac arrest at his D.C. home. And again, like I said, with this current administration of gangsters and thugs, I mean, would you be surprised if they did something? I mean, maybe there's some audio out there that we haven't got a hold of yet of, him being critical of Israel, like Charlie Kirk before he got kirked.
The theory that Charlie Kirk was killed by an explosive placed in his wireless mic is growing in popularity. And when you look at the reenactments done online, side by side, you can't help but notice the way that the shirt moves, the way that the necklace moves, and the way that the body moves are so similar. And now Tucker Carlson is openly saying that he believes that Charlie Kirk was killed because
believe he was most likely murdered for his evolving views on Israel.
Which is interesting when it comes to the exploding mic theory, because almost exactly a year before Charlie Kirk's assassination, Israel attacked Hezbollah with exploding walkie-talkies and pagers in an operation called Grim Beeper. And then you look at what TPUSA has done. They've put his handheld mic on display, but where's the wireless one? Brian Harple, Charlie Kirk's security, said that in the hospital, he cut his freedom shirt off. Where is that? Isn't that evidence? What if there's shrapnel on it? Speaking of which, this is what an exploded Rode wireless mic looks like. And when you freeze frame Charlie's hand the moment after the attack, that's what a lot of people believe they are seeing on his hand. And in October of 2025, Ian Carroll brought up the fact that there was an explosives factory that was wiped off the map in Tennessee that had government contracts that made mic packs. And immediately after Charlie Kirk's assassination, UVU did complete construction in the area where he was assassinated, and people wondered if it was to cover up evidence. And now you have to wonder if the evidence they were trying to hide was from an exploded mic. This was once just a conspiracy theory, but it seems that it's shaping up to be something more.
So, in other deaths that we're trying to get down to the bottom of, did y'all see this new photo of Nolan Wells, which people are questioning if he did indeed actually make it back to the mainland from the island before his untimely death? Yeah, I initially saw this on TikTok earlier this week, and then now the story has made its way to TMZ as Ben Crump, who's the attorney for Nolan Wells' family, is following every lead, in the teen's tragic death, because again, they were like, hey, there's some suspicious stuff, and typically where there's smoke, there's fire, and especially if you have a child that dies, I'm not surprised, especially when there's some weird circumstances. Like, I think any and all people have the right to do their due diligence to look into it and make sure that there was no foul play involved. But yeah, a photo emerged which suggests that Nolan may have made it back to Mississippi mainland before he died. Now, the picture is circulating social media. It shows a group of teens at a land-based pool party, and it's unfortunately, again, it's a picture of a whole bunch of white people, white teenagers, let me say that, in a pool, and there's one black person that's kind of like looking back while this white guy has his arm around him, they're buds or whatnot. And that black kid is allegedly Nolan Wells by all accounts. People are saying that that is Nolan Wells, and this appears to be from that same weekend. Now, part of the reason why these questions are coming up is, again, Nolan Wells. This happened on the weekend of 4th of July. And it is believed that this picture was taken at 1 a.m. on June 5th. And it was reposted by some other page. But basically, Crump said in his caption, "Now, listen, I don't know if these are facts or rumors because no official statements have been confirmed. We sometimes have to follow all clues until the truth is found." But basically, what is going on is that the picture popped up online after Nolan reportedly was at the island and the friends had made it back to the mainland. So, again, as the story goes, Nolan and some friends, they go to this island, they have this party. According to his friends, Nolan stayed back with some girl that he was chatting with. The girl claims that that's not the case, but his friends left and they took his phone with them as they left. And then after the actual time that happened, a picture popped up on social media which shows Nolan Wells inside of a pool. Now, there is some pushback that's starting to happen now as people are claiming that it's from a pool party from June 27th, but for whatever reason, the person who posted the picture waited until July 5th to then post the picture. So, of course, I say all that to say that who knows? We got to wait for some more digging to happen for us to get down to the bottom of this and kind of figure out what's going on. But again, as my brain tends to work and looking into things and me researching this article, I will say that just some things that I found odd when I was trying to search this whole Nolan Wells new photo. When you go to look for it, of course, there's a TMZ article that I just referenced. But outside of the TMZ report, there are only a couple of other sources outside of like social media. There's 1,000 people on social media talking about it. But when it comes to actual like official sites talking about this specific story about this new photo, one of the main ones that you see on the Google search is Rolling Stones. And I, quite frankly, first that stood out as odd to me because why is Rolling Stones reporting on this? Even going back to the TMZ report, they said, however, Nolan's friend, Tristan Shepard, told Rolling Stone the picture isn't actually from July 5th. He says it's from the pool party on June 27th. But why, again, is Rolling Stones involved in this death case? And I did some digging too to kind of, get some more information, and Rolling Stone is considered a reliable source for news when it comes to entertainment, pop culture, music criticism, any of that. But when it comes to them covering hard news, journalistic stories like this, the reviews are mixed on Rolling Stones. And again, like I said, even though they have a legacy of producing award-winning political and investigative journalism, they have also published a ton of high-profile stories that then later got redacted. typically when a story is redacted, it's because it's incorrect, because either the source that you got the information from wasn't vetted properly, so they didn't, tell you the right thing, or people purposely fed you certain information for you to then post something. You're trying to be the first one out there with the story. And so you got the incorrect story, and then you'll later on just redact the story, because again, no one cares about the truth when the lie is more entertaining. And typically the people who are first to the web with the information, those are the stories that kind of stick and linger with people forever. We always see the accusations. We never see, typically a lot of times how the trial actually ends. And, it's always those initial reports always hit the hardest. So that, stood out to me. Then again, as I'm, looking into the story, the other high profile place covering it is the New York Post. And the New York Post is considered right-leaning. Major media watchdogs, including All Sides, classifies its editorial and opinion content as distinctly conservative. And then lastly, there was a third place, as I'm doing my Googles, that I see talking about this specific story and about how this photo is from June 27th. All, again, Rolling Stones, New York Post, and this other place are all saying the same exact thing. And this third one was People Magazine, which again is weird. Why is People Magazine talking about this? And again, similar to Rolling Stones, when you do a little digging, People Magazine is considered reliable for celebrity news, human interest stories, and pop culture, often acting as a primary vetted source directly from publicists and celebrities themselves. But its editorial focus requires maintaining industry access, so it avoids aggressively investigating reporting, and occasionally they publish content that has been shaped by a subject's PR team. So that stands out to me that we learn about this picture. The attorney comes out and like, hey, I'm gonna look into this or whatever. It's a new lead. I'm gonna try to see, what information we can get from this. But then before the ink has dried on any of these newspapers, if you will, you have Rolling Stones, you have New York Post, and People Magazine getting out there first and foremost to be like, hey, yo, that photo is from a different day. No, that don't prove nothing. That don't prove nothing. And again, Rolling Stones, quick to get out there, not reliable in these investigative journalist things. So it's kind of like someone pushed them to get out there and say some stuff. And then People Magazine, also, again, hey, they typically get information from PR companies. Hey, this is how we want to shape the story. Hey, go ahead and run with this. Go ahead and, let them know this. And then again, New York Post, who is conservative. So again, it kind of feels like that side of the house is trying to get ahead of the story to paint a narrative of what's going on before the rest of the actual information comes for us to dissect it and actually figure out what exactly is going on. So, I don't know. Who knows? We have a new photo. We don't know when it was taken. We have an attorney working the case, and we got 3 publications that they just do what other people tell them to do, and they push certain stories to fit certain narratives. And, could be a coincidence, or it could be a group, like I said, paint a picture so the algorithm is tainted before the true actual information comes out. So you be the judge.
And the worst thing about being woke or being able to see everything for what it is, how fake it is the fact that you still got to participate. Like, literally waking up don't change nothing. You still have to follow orders and play the game the way it was intended. You just got to play it from a bad perspective now. A perspective of why I really don't want to do this. This is pointless. This is dumb. But now I just got to do it against my will. It ain't even no motivation that something greater is behind what I'm doing. You just got to play it.
Bitch, why you shut your pussy not the asshole? Harry Potter. She like, why you bring that up? You an asshole. Harry Potter. Try to go through my phone and know the passcode. Harry Potter. Dumb bitch. It's my birthday. You would've knew that if you loved me in the first place. Harry Potter. You don't even love yourself. No, you don't. Then why you using all them filters then? You thought you was off the hook. Now I'm about to reel you in. Ugly bitch. Bitch, you been caught. You not the catch. Ugly bitch. This bitch a dog. She far-fetched. You look like my auntie, she smoke crack. Out the pipe. You been through, why you posting throwbacks? Harry Potter. And talking about how she always miss her red hair. And how her mama fucked her shit up with a perm, she used to have long hair. Bitch, I seen your baby pictures, bitch, when and where? This bitch a living lie.
Boys at a certain age, they start getting kissed, they start getting hugged. Then they become, that's where my hug at. They do that because they touch deprived. So then when it's getting a relationship, they love language become touch because it's like, it's the only time they allowed touch. That's why I doubt they homeboy up 10 times before they leave. It's like,
they need a hug for real, but they won't say it's no homo.
Well, and then but the thing is like, this some real
patty cake.
It's some deeply human shit.
And then women, even when you're in a relationship with men, like, don't hug him, he need to not cry. And so women will take the back seat, let the man lead in that way, and then stop hugging Lil JoJo. And then Lil JoJo really needs to be held.
It's the only time we know we're going to get physical touch is through So that's why sex.
Shouts out to them. I think that is a beautiful discussion or beautiful topic to dive into and kind of unpack some more. And shouts out to that brother too, Deontay Cal from the Grits and Eggs podcast. If y'all don't know about the Grits and Eggs podcast, if you don't know about Deontay Cal, what is your life about? Like that's one strong, powerful, intelligent brother. I fucks with him heavy. He's based out of Atlanta. He be talking that talk, and like I really fuck with dude heavy because again, there's a lot of black intellectuals in a lot of different spaces. Shouts out to Dr. Lamont Hill, who has been doing things on CNN and a bunch of different places for years, but he's been moving into the pop sector, if you will, with the Joe Budden podcast. So, shouts out to that brother too. But Deontay Cal is kind of like unapologetically black, and he is somebody that, again, anybody within the black spaces that want to hear some more of that real shit that we should all be talking about and some of the shit that we need to be hearing. Again, fuck with Deontay Cal and the Grits and Eggs podcast. But going back to that clip, I thought that was a great clip because my history, I had never heard of love languages until I went to marriage counseling in 2023. That was one of the first exercises that we did in marriage counseling. We had our opening statements, with the therapist. And then one of the things that she wanted us to do was take this test so we can figure out what our love language was. And then, her goal was kind of to, talk through the issues in the marriage to help us kind of rekindle and figure, things out, if you will. That's another topic for another day. But I learned through the marriage counseling, through taking that test, that my love language is also physical touch. And so like it resonated with me. It made a ton of sense. Like after you hear it and after me, looking at my past relationships and looking at various things, it was like, oh shit, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, since then, I have seen a ton of posts on social media, and a lot of times, and this is not to call out all women, but there's a lot of women online who talk shit because, quite frankly, a lot of men's love language turns out to be physical touch. And so there's a lot of women, rightfully so, who are like, yo, I don't believe these niggas. Like, y'all are just trying to get somebody to cuddle up with you so y'all can fuck. Like, we see through your bullshit. Like, y'all ain't shit and y'all are lying about this. But quite frankly, I do think that, if there was a way to, do the knowledge and, get a whole bunch of men to test to figure out what their love language is, I think the majority of men, or let me say this, when you take all of the, various love languages and how, one receives love, if you were to have all the men take the test, I think the physical touch would be the leading one as opposed to all the rest. And I think there's multiple ways to kind of look into this and dissect this. And like one of them is from a young age, men do become touch deprived. And what I mean by that is like, we're critical of people when you baby your son, kid, you have a young boy, he's a kid, he trips, falls, scrapes his knee, starts crying, and you tell him, hey, stop crying, get up, be a man, get up, stop crying. Man, I don't even hurt that much, get up. As opposed to if it's your daughter who the same thing happened, you would pick her up, you would comfort her, you would make sure she's okay. Oh, it's okay. Come here. It's okay. You would use physical touch to comfort her and tell her it's okay, but you will tell that boy, stop crying, get up and be a man. A lot of men then, they do grow up and they don't get hugged. And it only then makes sense that then when you become an adult, you desire being hugged by your partner, because that physical touch is something that you didn't get as you were growing up. I after going through marriage counseling, it blew me away how so much of who we are as humans and as adults, it all goes back to our childhood. It's a whole bunch of shit that as our brains were developing and as we were kind of navigating this world that we did not quite understand, it was all these factors outside of our understanding that caused us to become the people that we are. And a lot of people don't realize that. It all goes back to our childhood traumas, and just our childhood environments, if you will. Another thing, and I know this is probably going to be a little risque to say, but I think that's one of the reasons why there are some men who constantly cheat on their partners. Many men are unaware that they grew up touch deprived. The great majority of them don't have this actual knowledge. So they get into relationships, and then again, being manly, we don't hug, we don't cuddle, that's what you're taught since you're, very youngin'. And so you kind of grow up and you may be like that, maybe when you're flirting with a girl, like Deontay say, yo, where my hug? We all know that dude, see a girl he ain't seen in a while, yo, where my hug? But typically when they're in a relationship, that hugging, that cuddling for some men go away, because again, they don't believe in or they're too manly to be soft and gentle and all that stuff with hugging. And then, typically in long-standing relationships, a lot of times one of the things that tend to happen is that the sex life is not as active, or the sex life gets repetitive. It kind of gets boring, kind of becomes more of a chore than something that's passionate. And then so that touch-deprived man who doesn't understand the emotions of, what he's lacking inside, then goes and finds someone else to touch him. So they could, get that dopamine rush and go back to feeling desired and appreciated and wanted, Also, I talk often about how I think the majority of men grow up and they grow up to not be emotionally intelligent. And again, a lot of that is because going back to young boys, when they're raised, we teach young boys, swallow your emotions. And then when they're 18, they're released in the world and people are like, hey, why do you only know how to process anger as an emotion? And it's like, yeah, they were never given the tools to learn how to process any of the other emotion. They were always told to just swallow all of that emotion, swallow all of that, be stoic, swallow it. And yeah, that emotion goes somewhere. And quite frankly, I mean, that's probably, there's other factors at play, but that's probably one of the reasons why men are the most violent creatures on earth. There's the law of conservation of energy in physics that says energy never actually disappears. It just constantly shifts outfits, moving between thermal, kinetic, electrical, and chemical forms. And I believe emotions are energy. And if you keep that shit bottled up, it's going to express itself in one way or another. And some man, it kind of comes out as anger. Some man, it comes out with, over sex drive, just being hypersexual. And then some men continue to drink and smoke weed and do different things to numb the emotion, because that, again, is what we have been taught since we were very young, is don't be emotional. Men are to be stoic. Keep all that shit bottled up, and eventually, if you can't physically, emotionally do it anymore, you find something to help you numb the pain, if you will. So now, of course, on the flip side of it, I do think that there's some men who, don't know shit about this. I think women are correct that, there are some men who are using it as an excuse to cuddle up with a woman and, try to get some ass. But always like to look at those as more so the outliers, and those outliers who are pieces of shit, they're going to lie. They're lying regardless. So like we shouldn't really kind of lump them into this study, if you will, of the men who are sleep or touch deprived, because I think that is a reality that the great majority of men grow up in that type of environment, and that, you know, kind of makes sense why men grow up and they need that physical touch. That's their love language. That's what they've been depriving since they were a kid, and that's what they look for in their partner. So yeah. I don't know. At the end of the day, I think some of y'all niggas need therapy. Like, just plain and simple. Like, just start going to therapy. It'll help you a lot. I promise.
Nobody looking for your bitch ass. Okay? You are a bitch. And it's okay to be a bitch. You could be James Baldwin. Yeah. Stop trying to be tough. I say that with love. Which camera? I'm right here. You are a bitch. Your mama raised a good boy. Oh, be that. You embarrassing granny.
Niggas don't want to be good men anymore. You a good, kind-hearted soul.
You got a good heart, my nigga. Stop trying to be tough. You are a bitch. You was born a bitch. You led prayer, praise dance teams.
Yo, shouts out to Durand Bernarr, who is a Grammy-winning singer, DJ. Durand does a ton of stuff, and that was them on the Joe Budden podcast. And a couple of those clips from that episode, that was actually a while ago, had went viral, where he, again, broke down the differences between a heterosexual man and a straight man. Kind of pointing out that, you know, someone who is heterosexual, that means that you're attracted to women. But then, you know, being a straight man is performative. It's a societal construct. And later on, you know, in that same segment, he had talked about how true masculinity is a man who's confident and comfortable in his own skin and doesn't need to put on a rah-rah show or actively hate on feminine energy to prove he is a man. And again, whoo, that's another great conversation for us to have. Because again, that's what the Symphony of Thoughts podcast is about. You know, everybody's talking about, you know, pop culture and current events. Let's get down to the root of some stuff. And I think that, you know, again, I have a unique perspective on a lot of things, and I have kind of seen the world from a lot of different places. And one of the things that kind of stood out with me with hearing that clip and thinking about performing masculinity, I remember how I performed masculinity when I was younger and coming up. So again, you know, I'm a delivery driver right now, so I spend a lot of time by myself, and I spend a lot of time listening to podcasts, listening to music, and a lot of the music that I listen to is like current music. Like, I tend to, as new albums come out, new artists come out, I'm listening to new stuff. I'm constantly having stuff in heavy rotation, and I have certain playlists, and a lot of times, you know, a lot of the stuff that, again, I listen to is current over the past like 10 years or so. Which then makes my kind of YouTube music like library has a massive range of liked music going all the way back to the 60s and 70s, all the way to fucking music that has came out in the past 30 days. Like, I have decades upon decades of music that I like, and that's a bit of the beauty of you know, streaming services and all that. I don't have to carry CDs around. I could just listen to a wide variety of music from all over the place. But I kind of, you know, I was going through my motion of a bunch of the current music that, you know, I've listened to, and I kind of got bored and was like, dang, I want to, you know, I'm trying to figure out, you know, what I'm in the mood for, if you will. So then I was like, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my liked music folder, which again has thousands of songs over, you know, the past fucking 6-7 decades. And I was like, I'm just hit shuffle, and you know, if something catches my attention, that's what I'm gonna rock with. But I'm gonna just, you know, kind of just shuffle through, you know, the thousands of songs I like on YouTube. And it was playing a bunch of hip hop that I grew up on. And again, people who know me know I grew up, you know, I fell in love with hip hop in the 90s. So I grew up on Jay-Z, Nas, Eminem, and DMX specifically, is DMX was I listened to music, and music was always a background thing for me, but it was when DMX came out where like DMX was the first rapper, the first artist to like catch my attention and me like care about what he was saying, and then me diving into the lyrics and the emotion of the story that he was getting across. Like, there was a lot of hip hop music that I liked. DMX was the first person that made me fall in love with music. Like, oh shit, wait, oh, I get it now. Like, it clicked. The veil came off. It was like, oh shit, let me dive into these lyrics and like really like get in tune with what these people are saying. Yeah, a bunch of DMX records were coming on, and it was interesting because as they're playing, some of these songs I have not heard in fucking over 10, 15 years, and I still knew them word for word, and I'm still rapping. I'm doing my rapper hands, as you know, me being a former rapper myself. Them rapper hands come out as you know, as you rhyming, and you know, those mannerisms I used to do when I was a rapper myself started to come out. And then that's when it dawned on me. I had like an epiphany as I was driving through a dirt field, listening to DMX doing my rapper hands. A lot of the rappers that I grew up on that I idolized, part of it was because I was living vicariously through them performing masculinity. Message. So, I know we live in a new world with all these new terms, and people don't want to learn nothing new. Things got to be the same way they were when I grew up. Like, I know people don't like learning new stuff, but that's never what this podcast is about. And let me start with this. Me being late diagnosis autistic, I now realize that in society, there are a lot of boxes that neurotypical people kind of make themselves fit in. That's kind of what being neurotypical is that people are like, hey, you could hop in this line to go this way, or you can hop in this line and go that way. And then typically neurodivergent people were standing in the middle, and we're like, why is there only two lines? Like, why can't I go this way down the middle? Or shit, what if I hop in this line for a little bit, then I want to do this line and I want to go in reverse? Like, it's kind of like neurotypical, you're binary in a sense, and then neurodivergent, it's like we're going in all different kind of directions. Like, why does anything have to be in a box? So I say all that to say, me not knowing I was autistic growing up, you know, trying to figure out how to fit in society, I'm emulating the people around me to try to get in where I fit in, if you will. And when you look at masculinity and what does performing masculinity means, and it's a concept that stems from gender studies. And there's a notable philosopher, Judith Butler, who had a theory of gender performativity. And it basically suggests that masculinity is not innate, it's not a fit state, but rather a continuous social constructed set of behaviors, actions, and expressions that individuals perform to fit societal expectations. These performative acts, such as displaying physical strength or emotional stoicism, like, you know, I talked about earlier, financial ambition, like all these things are learned and reinforced through cultural norms. And because it is a performance, the standards of masculinity changes across different eras, cultures, subcultures, meaning men and boys are constantly navigating and adapting how they enact these roles in their daily lives. So again, you know, if you're in America, they're going to tell you that, you know, masculinity is this. If you're in Japan, masculinity is that, so on and so forth. But again, I am a African American, so I'm always speak from our lens. And yeah, that is a lot of what, you know, being masculine is. It's very rah-rah energy. Women beneath me, women stupid, woman cook clean. For me, it's a caveman way of thinking. It's very masculine, and also again, stoic side of like, hey, boys don't cry. Like, you got to be a man. You got to be a man. Those are all the ways that we perform masculinity in today's society, if you will. And that is part of the reason why we say that you know, masculine versus feminine, that's social, or what is considered masculine and feminine is a social construct, much like, you know, when we get into the trans debate, when, oh, you know, men shouldn't wear dresses. Again, you guys are talking within a box, and you all are referencing something that does by definition change with the times. I won't even dive into all the XY bullshit that, you know, or people are only XX or XY when there are like 22 different chromosome variations that you stupid motherfuckers never seem to bring up. Like, y'all always want to attack trans people with the XX versus XY, but then there are so many other fucking chromosome pairings. But that also is a topic for another podcast. But speaking about like masculinity and what men do versus what women do, a couple things to kind of like bring to light, because, you know, some people just genuinely don't know this. Makeup. You know, makeup today, if you see a man wearing makeup, you be like, hey man, that's gay. Like, why are you doing that? Women do that. When in reality, cosmetics date back to around 5,000 years ago in ancient Egypt, where both men and women, especially in the upper classes, wore thick eyeliner. And in the 17th and 18th centuries in Europe, aristocratic men regularly wore white face powder, rouge, and wigs to indicate their elite status and wealth. Look at corsets. Corsets originate from the 16th century, and men of European aristocracy commonly wore corset-like garments known as stays or doublets. These were designed to create a sleek, commanding posture, signify nobility, and emphasize broad shoulders and a narrow waist. Again, y'all argue about who should be wearing dresses and high heels, where high heels were originally developed in the 10th century by Persian cavalry soldiers to secure their feet in stirrups. Persian migrants brought the trend to Europe in the 17th century. Male aristocrats adopted heels as a symbol of power and high social standing. Similar forms of dresses, tunics, and long flowing robes were standard, practical, and highly fashionable attire for men across various ancient and medieval cultures. And again, this is why we keep saying to y'all that gender and things of that nature are social constructs. The things that you say that men and women should or should not do today were different yesterday, and they will change tomorrow. You can look at the beauty standards of today. Like, one of the things too, even though like it kind of has changed from like a pop culture standpoint, where like you know, for the past like 10, 15 years, people got real big into the whole BBL, the whole slim waist with the big booty. And now the booty is not as exaggerated. You know, nowadays, like Kim Kardashian was someone who I think she recently took her BBL out or whatever. But yeah, that's one of the things that, like, when you look at the standard for the past, you know, few decades when it comes to models, like, you got to be thin and, like, you know, bone thin. Like, that is what's attractive, to be sleek and thin. And back in the day, when you went to, you know, medieval times, they loved them big old women. Because if a woman was big, that meant that she was healthy. And you didn't like those skinny women, because those skinny women probably had diseases and were going to die. So the social construct back then was, give me a big old woman because look how healthy she is. Those skinny women are not healthy. But then today you have someone like Lizzo, who y'all bullied for the past 10 fucking years, to tell her, if you don't lose some motherfucking weight. Again, these are social constructs. These are things that don't actually fucking matter. It's just rules to society that we change with certain things, and like, and then neurotypical people get stuck in this box of, I don't compute. It must be specifically this. It has to be this in this box. If it's not left or right, how can it be something else? Like, this is a 3-dimensional world. Everything ain't binary. Like, there's a spectrum. This shit is complex out here, baby. And then so, like, going back again to like performing masculinity, you know, I grew up in South Phoenix. I grew up in South Phoenix in the 80s and 90s, you know, before, you know, it's kind of gentrified in a way now, where there's certain neighborhoods that are good neighborhoods. They have a lot of gated communities in South Phoenix now. And it's crazy too, because there's like so many homeless people out there now versus when I was growing up. But that, again, story for another day. But yeah, when I was growing up in South Phoenix in the 80s and 90s, especially like once I hit high school, all the people that I was around, everybody was drug dealers and gangbangers. Like, that was all I grew up on. That's the reason why Kendrick Lamar's Good Kid, Mad City was such a powerful album to me, because I knew exactly what he was talking about, what it was like being that good kid in a mad city. Like, all my homies, like, I grew up with these people. I love these people. I fucked with these people. But we're fucking young men now, and all these niggas do is slang, dope, and gangbang, and I don't quite do any of that, but these are still my folks, so I'm still hanging with them. Like, that was the life of a Good Kid, Mad City. Kendrick Lamar, again, talked very heavily about that on that album, and it resonated because that's, you know, what I grew up in. And then, quite frankly, like, when you become a teenager, you know, as after we go through puberty, us as men, you know, we start checking out women, and we start trying to figure out ways to impress women. And that was the thing. The chicks that I was interested in, they were chasing the thugs, the drug dealers, the gangbangers. A funny little side story, when I was 14, my first serious like girlfriend in high school, this chick I dated, and we basically talked damn near all of freshman year, I want to say. It was a long period of time that me and this girl was dating. And I was a virgin and she was a virgin. And, you know, I was being the respectable gentleman. When you're ready, I'm ready. I'm not going to rush you. And before the relationship was over, there was some gangbanger from the block that we lived on that she was infatuated with. And then I later end up finding out that she was sucking and fucking that nigga for months on end. Like, I was being Mr. Nice and respectable, beautiful queen. I put you on a pedestal, and this other nigga who did not give a fuck about her was running trisnanes on her. And that was life in South Phoenix. Again, I wasn't a drug dealer. I wasn't a gangbanger. But those were the men that, you know, the chicks were chasing, the chicks was interested in. And I was this, you know, smart, socially awkward nerd. And while that is cool nowadays, you know, it's cool to be a nerd nowadays, that wasn't the fucking thing back then. You know, if you fucking 4 eyes with glasses, that wasn't cool. You weren't cool back then. So, like I said, you know, me trying to navigate in this world, you know, I had to mask. And then I also, back then, again, we're all listening to hip hop. Hip hop is very big. Me being on the South Side, a bunch of the dudes that I came up with, they listened to rap also, but they listened to West Coast rap. So they were into NWA and Tupac and Dre and Ice Cube and DJ Quick and Brother Lynch Hung. Y'all do the knowledge if y'all don't know Brother Lynch Hung. He was on some other shit. But it was all, you know, a whole bunch of West Coast gangster rap that, again, didn't resonate with me because I didn't understand what any of these motherfuckers was talking about. So I gravitated towards East Coast rap, and I emulated Jay-Z and Nas and DMX, and, like, I shaved my head bald. I got so many pictures of me trying to look like DMX. And then Eminem came out from Detroit, and then Eminem was kind of closer to, like, he was spitting that hardcore shit, but he wasn't trying to be a gangbanger or nothing like that. He was just being his unique, you know, self, if you will. So then same thing, like, I gravitated towards Eminem. And then that carried on into my rap career. As I was, you know, a rapper, I basically was some mixture of Jay-Z, Nas, DMX, and Eminem kind of all combined. That was basically the best way to kind of summarize my delivery and my approach to lyricism was all kind of based somewhere. It was a hodgepodge of something between all four of those men. And yeah, and that's, you know, how it continued through the hip hop scene. And then, you know, I remember when I went to the Conservatory of Recording Arts, when I got away, when I, you know, decided to start rapping, I wanted to move into the engineering. And that was one of the things one of the teachers said that I'll never forget. They had told us, like, hey, you know, all of us have our particular type of music that we enjoy, but you need to like broaden your horizons because you never know what your next check is going to come from. So like you need to learn how to find enjoyment in any and all music. And I remember literally after that day of school, I went to the mall. I went to Arizona Mills, and there was still a Tower record store. That was the big store in the middle that connected you from one side of the mall to the other. And I think I had just got paid recently, and I went there and I bought like a whole bunch of CDs. I bought some rap CDs. I bought Good Charlotte. I bought Green Day. I bought Miles Davis. I bought Jamiroquai, Alanis Morissette. Like I bought like a wide variety of albums. It was like 10 albums that I got. And I'll never forget. I went up there and I put them all at the register, pay for them, and the fucking the fucking white dude that was ringing me up looked at the CDs I put and then looked at me and then looked back at the CDs and then looked at me and was like, you know, we got a no return policy on open CDs. I'm like, no, motherfucker, I'm gonna listen to this shit. But anyway, I think that that was a, you know, powerful lesson that I learned in music. I think that then kind of helped me as I stopped rapping and got into engineering. I stopped being so critical of rap because I was very big on I only listened to Lyrical Miracle stuff. And then after kind of that, I started broadening my horizon and listening to not so lyrical rap and just like, hey, you know, sometimes music is about a vibe. Like maybe that rapper has a dope vibe or a dope bounce to a beat. And then I also started listening to new artists. And then I think that's part of what helped me then kind of continue to listen. Like there's a lot of people, especially at my age, who if you ask them about rap, they're like, oh yeah, I only listen to the people that, you know, I grew up listening to. I don't listen to none of that new stuff. And now I will never act like I know every single rapper that's out in the scene today. The fucking 2026 Double XL freshman class just came out, and I didn't know any of those people. I think this was the first time where it was like, oh shit, I don't know a single one of these artists. But I say all that to say that I have found this second wave of younger artists over the past decade that I've grown to enjoy their music, and now my top 10 of favorite rappers of all time, I think is kind of varied and broken down between two different eras of my life. And it's the first era of the performing masculinity, and then it's the second era of me being confident in who I am and the new rappers I listen to. And so like coming up again, like I said, Jay-Z, Nas, Eminem, DMX, I was from the performing masculinity era. And then the fifth person I would actually kind of put in that same stage, but then they also kind of bridged the gap to the new stage, was Joe Budden. Joe Budden, long before he was the podcaster, Joe Budden was a rapper who, when he first came out into the game, he had this very kind of like blend between like a Jay-Z and Ludacris with his delivery and his punctuation and different things. It was very like Jay-Z-esque in his swag, but then it was like this Ludacris and where the way he enunciated and, you know, bounced on flows and drug syllables out and all that. And then Joe Budden, of course, his mainstream career didn't take off the way that it was supposed to. And then Joe Budden then got into the Mood Music series, where then Joe Budden, for the next fucking 10, 15 years of his life or his rap career, talking about all the mental health issues that he had and all the depression and all the fucking drug abuse and alcohol abuse. And like Joe Budden got very vulnerable on records in a way that we had never seen an artist do before. And that kind of bridged the gap into this new age of rappers that I then end up falling in love with. And I would kind of round those out to 5 artists in particular, that being Kendrick Lamar, Childish Gambino, Vince Staples, Isaiah Rashad, and Damage. Those are the other 5 artists that really like resonated with me. And Kendrick Lamar has one of the greatest fucking discographies of all time. He's kind of like this generation's Tupac meets Nas, and Kendrick Lamar has these very powerful albums that he puts together that, like, I've said it a bunch of times, like damn near every one of his albums you could turn into a movie. You could turn it into a motion picture. If Kendrick wanted to sit down with any fucking screenplay writer, any one of those albums, he could turn those into feature-length films. And because there's just so much messaging and emotion in his different albums. And then Childish Gambino. Childish Gambino resonated with me a lot. Camp and Because the Internet, two of my favorite albums of all time. I mentioned how I have a wall of some of the vinyls of the music that I grew up on, and Childish Gambino's Camp album reminds me of my grade school years. And Childish Gambino's the Because the Internet album really talked to me of my 30s and the things that I was feeling during my 30s. And again, same thing, very emotional, honest music from a fellow black nerd. Then you have Vince Staples, and Vince Staples, hey, cuz he from LA, he grew up gang banging, but Vince Staples is, you know, he's a good kid in a mad city that did also bang, but this is a smart brother, and he touches on a lot of shit going on in the inner cities and some of the struggles and the battles with depression and the battles with, you know, growing up and trying to, you know, maintain yourself, you know, in bad communities, and then kind of the dangers of that and the repercussions of that. And he talks, you know, from a lot of different perspectives. And you know, I talked about recently his new album where he's always been very eclectic in his music. Everything ain't just boom bap rap. Everything ain't just gangster rap. He's experimented with his the types of music that he makes. And the recent album, Crybaby, was a fucking punk rap album talking about systemic oppression and racism and police brutality in America. And it was like, holy fuck. Like, he was on a major label and was like, y'all won't let me do what the fuck I want to do, so I'm gonna go independent because I need to talk about what the fuck is going on in America. Like, this shit ain't sweet. I need to talk to people about what the fuck is actually going on. Isaiah Rashad is someone who early on in his career, he always was very vulnerable, talking about dealing with addiction issues and talking about battling with mental health. And then Isaiah Rashad, as I had mentioned, had the situation where some sex tapes leaked and it came out that he was bisexual. In his last album, he talked a lot about how difficult it is being a bisexual black man in America. He talked about, you know, him kind of deconstructing what exactly masculinity is and toxic masculinity versus just being comfortable in who he is as just a fucking man and not letting people dictate to you what you're supposed to be, who you're supposed to think, who you're supposed to love. Like, he talked that talk on, you know, his recent album. And then lastly, Damage. Again, I talk about Damage all the fucking time. Damage is a fucking trans activist who they're not their debut album, but their album, self-titled album, Damage, had this incredible story. And basically the album was them coming out as transgender, and it was like a battle of the two sides of them, of the one side who was self-loathing and fucking self-destructive and always harming themselves, and that side that they were presenting to the world was kind of destroying their inner child and their inner feeling of being a woman trapped in a man's body. And then the Damage character came out to then be this genuine, beautiful soul that was actually aligned with their spirit and knew that their purpose as a trans person was to talk about what's going on in America and how they're trying to wipe trans people off the planet and the fucking economic battles or the socioeconomic issues with, you know, Democrats and Republicans all sharing the same agenda and like just talking this deep shit. And so again, like I said, it's just I've loved hip hop as long as I've rocked with it, and there's these two different eras that I now realize that I have been in, and of the, again, performing masculinity versus being comfortable in what my masculinity is in this world. And kudos to them. So yeah, again, just the younger generation of rappers I do resonate with a lot, because I do feel that while a lot of the people back in the 90s were really performing, if you will, like this is who I got to pretend to be, a lot of the younger artists are more comfortable in bearing their souls and letting the world know that they're not perfect. And, you know, a lot of these artists that I mentioned, from Kendrick Lamar to Childish Gambino, Vince Staples, Isaiah Rashad, and Damage, they know that they're not the toughest, not the smartest, not the cold-heartedest person that's out there. But in their music, they showcase that they're simply humans trying to figure out how to navigate a world that's not meant for you to survive outside of two-dimensional boxes. I think that's important.
All I want to say is, one of my niggas bring two niggas. Then two niggas go get three. Two niggas bring four niggas. Then four niggas come back and alert me. Two niggas bring three niggas. And three niggas bring four. Four niggas bring five niggas, and five niggas bring more.
Staying in the world of hip-hop, we got to talk about Jay-Z's historic 3-night run in Yankee Stadium this past weekend. Essentially, Jay-Z kind of took the hip-hop world by storm and had 3 sold-out nights back-to-back in Yankee Stadium, not performing the same concert 3 times, but doing 3 different concerts each night with a completely different theme. As the opening night started, Jay-Z had said the album that did 43,000 in its first week now put 45,000 in the seats. Culture always wins. And that was a reference into night 1 was in celebration of his debut album, Reasonable Doubt, which came out 30 years ago, y'all. June 25th, 1996, Jay-Z's debut album came out over 30 years ago. It's hard to wrap my brain around that, but yeah, that's how long he's been doing it. Night 2 was a dedication to The Blueprint, which came out almost 25 years ago, because The Blueprint famously came out on September 11th of 2001, and Jay-Z proceeded to still sell a bunch of records. His sales were not impacted by September 11th. And then Jay-Z, in his ever braggadocious manner on his follow-up album, The Blueprint 2, Jay-Z famously rapped on the song The Bounce. Rumor has it the Blueprint classic couldn't even be stopped by Bin Laden. So September 11th marks the era forever of a revolutionary Che Guevara. Now it's whole museum of Hove MCs, everybody duping the flow. Yup, see him. Everybody looping up soul. It's like they're trying to make the Blueprint 2 before Hove. Oh my God. This man's incredible. But anyway, night 2 was in celebration of the Blueprint 1 that again came out September 11th of 2001. And then night 3 was kind of like a Jay-Z and Friends event. But overall, over the 3 nights, you know, he performed completely different songs each night, and he had, it was fucking star-studded with guests. I know I'm gonna miss some of them, but some of the people that were there were, Nas was there during the Reasonable Doubt night, so was Jazzo, who was the rapper who initially brought Jay-Z in the game, and that was the Jazzo thing was a powerful moment because him and Jazzo has had some beef over the years. Like, Jazzo brought him into the game. They were cool as far as we know, all the way up to Volume 2. Jazzo was on the Nigga What, Nigga Who song. He was spitting that double time flow with him. But then they had a falling out, but looks like Jay-Z pieced it up with him, had him come out during night 1. Night 2, you had Eminem come out to do Renegade with Jay-Z, which was another, you know, when that was another big record. Eminem and Jay-Z, that was the first time the two of them rapped on a record, and you could tell that both of them, they're being very competitive. They put on a fucking classic record with Renegade. But also, yeah, Pharrell, Rihanna, Tiana Taylor, Fat Joe, Jadakiss, The Clips, Wiz Beats, Jeezy, and of course his wife Beyonce was there at the shows. And actually, speaking of Beyonce, each show started with a video collage on the big screen of showing Beyonce cutting Jay-Z's hair. And that is adding to the rumors that Jay-Z must be done recording a new album, and we're about to get a new album from Jay-Z. Now, the last Jay-Z album that came out was actually 444, and holy shit, 444 came out June 30th of 2017. So Jay-Z's last album was almost 10 years ago, and 444 was one of my personal favorites. A lot of people did not like 444 because it was a very vulnerable album. 444 was, as I call, the Black Therapy album. That was the, hey, you know, I've been cheating on my wife for a whole bunch of times. She was getting ready to leave me and take the family with her. I decided to go to therapy and unpacking this. And that was a very therapeutic album where Jay-Z, again, it started off with Kill Jay-Z. And that was one of the things that you kind of learn to do with therapy, is that you have an old self-destructive self. And so you learn to kill that old destructive you and start anew. That's literally where Trey came from. I, you know, killed my old persona, you know, pre-divorce and pre all that. And Trey is the new alive me, if you will. So like I resonated with that. But then, yeah, on that album, he talked about his mom very late in her life coming to the realization that she was gay. He rapped about, you know, his, being happy for his mom, finally finding true love in the later years of her life. You know, he made the apology record to to his wife, Beyonce. Hey, I ain't shit. I don't know why you keep forgiving me, but like I got my shit together now. I'm gonna do better by you and by my family. It was a very, you know, deep album, and a lot of people didn't like it because it was too emotional, but fuck y'all, that's the shit that I like. And I had always said that if that was Jay-Z's last album, I was comfortable with that being his last album, but looks like Jay-Z is back. And apparently it's probably back lyrically to the old Jay-Z, because there was a GQ interview that he did back in March where he did say that he was recording new music, but it was too angry to put out. But it seems like he may have figured it out, because the significance of that video of Beyonce cutting his hair is the lore of Jay-Z. The lore of Jay-Z has been that Jay-Z, when he gets locked into album mode, Jay-Z, you know, basically lives in the studio and he'll stop like cutting his hair, and his hair grows while he's in the studio recording. And then when the album is finally done is when he then cuts his hair and then goes into promotion mode for the album. So that is what people think this signaling is that Jay-Z is cutting his hair, is because he's letting y'all niggas know there's a new album coming out. And furthermore, that kind of, a lot of people think that got exposed as Pharrell, who has known beef with Drake, had some things to say during one of those nights, and Drake had some words about Jay-Z also during the Iceman album that just came out, and Pharrell got on stage and was like, hey, Jay-Z's talking that talk and he got some shit to say, and particularly about this one dude, and I'm happy about that.
You gotta make some noise for your own. Y'all know him to be the Durand, and I know him to be. They poked the bear, and then the bear cut his hair, and now he got on his helmet. He got on his helmet, and he getting ready to go to work. I hope he kill all the niggas. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Make some noise for the legendary skateboard P tonight, New York City. Let's go.
So yeah, kudos to that. I've mentioned many times that Jay-Z is my favorite rapper of all time, and when album comes out, I'm gonna check it out, and you know, if I like it, you know, I'm gonna rock with it. If I don't like it, then you know, that is what it is. But I will say that again, in my new Treyway state of mind, if you will, and me being so anti-capitalism and anti-people who just outright support it and kind of put you know, capitalism over community, as I say. I have had some questions about Jay-Z and some of his business decisions. Going back in time, I mentioned previously about the whole NFL thing. The Colin Kaepernick had got blackballed from the NFL. It was a bunch of black people who was like, yo, fuck the NFL. We're not rocking with them anymore. And Jay-Z found a way to get in there. And, oh, I run the Super Bowl show now. Now he's getting money with the NFL. And then it was cool to come back to the NFL. And he recently did a similar thing. For those who are not aware, Target had, I think I mentioned it on a previous episode when Trump came out and said, death to DEI. Target was one of the main people to get out there and say, yes, sir. And they started doing the same thing. And so a ton of black people started boycotting Target. And I am one of them. I have actually not been in a Target probably since like 2023. I am someone who is for the community. If the community say, hey, we ain't spending our dollars over there anymore, I'm like, cool, I'm not spending my dollars over there anymore. Because again, the dollar is what makes things happen out here. But Jay-Z recently partnered with Target to put a exclusive white vinyl edition of his debut album Reasonable Doubt inside of Target for $40. And this caused major backlash because a lot of black people was like, yo, Jay, we said that we off Target, and now you are rocking with Target. You're doing business dealings with Target. And Jay-Z addressed it as he kicked a freestyle one of the nights, and it's being dubbed the Target freestyle. And Jay-Z had some things to say to the people who did not like this new business venture that he was in.
I'm a Target. You ain't, don't miss that Target. No exclusive, they only doing what Apple and Walmart did. You shopping at Amazon or you boycotting? You posting on Instagram? That's Meta, boy, stop it. Y'all know Google owns YouTube. You picking and choosing and politicking as usual. They digging deep for narratives, it's embarrassing. They run out of characters, had to bring back up Cap again. My buddy took a check, I ain't even mad at him. But along with that check, gotta sign a non-disparagement. I'm the one they can't control. Y'all better be glad as him. Yeah. I'm the one they can't control. You better be glad as him. $500 million back in the community. That's just good math for him. I don't listen to Twitter activists. They type and I laugh at them. There's really no comparison. Y'all check my stats again. I'm bringing folks home to their family. Laws get passed because him. You can like it or not. We don't do no ass kissing. Ex-drug dealer. You might not like the packaging, but my presence is the president. My gift is rapping. Oh shit. Let's get on some Brooklyn shit.
Those who didn't catch the lyrics, some of the lyrics that stood out was Jay said that they say I sold out. Yeah, I did sell out. 3 nights I sold Yankee Stadium the hell out. I'm a Target. Hey, don't miss that Target. No exclusive. They only doing what Apple and World Market. You shopping at Amazon or you boycotting. You posting on Instagram. That's Meta, boy. Stop it. Y'all know Google or YouTube. You picking and choosing and politicking as usual. I don't listen to Twitter activists. They type and I laugh at them. I hate those particular lyrics. Jay-Z swag is always on 100. And like I said, Jay-Z is always talking that talk. And that's part of what the allure is with Jay-Z. Jay-Z is very braggadocious. He has a way with words. And 9 times out of 10, Jay-Z, no matter what corner you back him into, Jay-Z knows how to talk his way out of it. But those lines in particular, I don't like, because I think it's to say how, again, he's talking about how he's calling people hypocrites and Twitter activists by, talking shit, but still shopping at Amazon and still using Instagram and, Google, YouTube. He mentioned a bunch of different businesses that people have ethical dilemmas with, but still use them. And I kind of call out, especially, with Jay, is it's a little different. Like, we're not talking about the same thing. Like, Jay-Z, you're rich. You're a fucking billionaire, and your wife is a billionaire. And how many times have you rapped about how many billionaires is in your friend group? Like, it's 9 of y'all. LeBron is your young boy. LeBron's OG. Your Kanye West's OG. Your Rihanna's OG. Like, all them people are billionaires. They all came up under you. Like, you and your family tree within the industry or whatever is nothing but black billionaires, and that is beautiful. It's beautiful that all of y'all are black billionaires. I would never fully shit on that, if you will. But the concern that I think a lot of us have is that, Jay, you're rich. And so you doing businesses that don't support the black community is not quite, you getting money with them is not quite the same as us poor people who are living check by check, who are using these apps and shopping at these places because we don't have the power to do otherwise. I am someone who I have boycotted, a few places here and there, and like, Walmart is a good example. Like, I really wish I can get away from ever shopping at Walmart, but I live check to check, and sometimes I have to go to Walmart because it's so much cheaper there. And same thing with Amazon. Sometimes it's a lot cheaper for me to get those things on Amazon. And so, yes, there are boycotting things that, we do and all that. And there's certain businesses that are unethical and certain things that, like Target, we can get away from because we can get these items over there. But there are other things that we can't get away from using because we don't have the means and resources to get away from it. And that is completely different than you being rich and you getting checks with these people. Me working for a company that is one of those companies is completely different from you sitting at a table with Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner. It's completely different. It's not the same thing. You getting money with these people and us being poor and having no other way of getting to some of these items without going through these businesses. And, even like me being a content creator. Like, yes, I wish I could stay away from a bunch of these social media things because of, all these fucking social media companies within America are all run by right-wing people who are best friends with Trump. I would love to get away from all of them, but I can't. I'm a content creator. If I want to try to figure out a way to, get this growing to the point where I have a community where I could hopefully monetize it, I have to use those tools. But you don't have to. You didn't have to go to Target. You could have did some type of exclusive where it was direct to consumer, where we went specifically to your website to get these vinyls. You could have did that. You could have found, some, small black owned business distributor or CD Baby or TuneCore. You could have went to a lot of places and did the same exact thing, and your name carries so much weight that people would have followed you regardless of where you put it. But you chose Target because they paid more. You're going to get more money. You're going to get more visibility from them. And that is typically, a lot of times of what the challenge is, when we talk about, some of these black people getting money. We're glad that you made it out, and we're glad that you made the money that you made. But like, we're still in the same situations that we're in because you're still supporting a system that promotes white supremacy that will then continue to keep your community down. I played that Joe Budden clip earlier, and I love the Joe Budden podcast. And recently they had a viral moment when they were talking about the Nolan Wells story, which I also talked about earlier. And Mona went on a rant about how she don't fuck with white people and she ain't gonna have her kids. That's the reason why she don't let her kids hang around white people. And it was a viral, passionate moment. And Joe, let her, say her piece. But then on this recent episode, Joe, joked about her saying those things. And even on that podcast, he joked about her, saying those things and like, oh man, we're going to lose sponsorships now. Sponsors aren't going to put money in our pocket. And I know that he's joking, but that is typically what the thing is. It's a bunch of you have certain black people who have gotten into that 1%. They've gotten to a certain political standing, and they are going to be nice and not say the wrong thing because they know if they say the wrong thing, white supremacy will kick them out of that 1% and back where they came from. And they're aware of that. And by them, being quiet, they're participating in white supremacy in a way because, again, shouts out to Deontay Cow from the Grits and Eggs podcast. That boy say a bunch of shit on his podcast that once it gets big enough, them boys, and you know who I'm talking about, they gonna try to silence that man. He is saying a lot of shit popular black people shouldn't be saying, but he don't give a fuck. His platform is his platform. He's gonna say what the fuck he got to say, and that is how we all within the black community should be. And then maybe we can get to a place where we can start owning some stuff, you know. And again, hey, I may get canceled for this, but again, I've always said we as the black community need to move like how the Jewish community does. The Jewish community, dollars come into the Jewish community and they spend those dollars with other Jewish people and they keep that money in their community. And they've gotten to a point now where you can't even criticize that country without them then saying that it's anti-Semitic. But meanwhile, people would call Africa a shithole fucking continent and no one deems it as racist. Make that make sense. So, yeah. To round this off, yeah, again, Jay-Z, when the album comes out, I'm going to check it out. Again, like I said, huge fan. But if you're talking that Target bullshit on this album, I will come back on this podcast and read you the filth. I just got to keep it a buck, my nigga.
Like, come on. I done been in Nelson Mandela's cell, nigga. Like, what do I have to prove to niggas?
On to the main event of today's proceedings. I can't wait for me to get to a week where I'm not talking about Caitlin Clark news, but unfortunately, while the WNBA season is going, and me being someone who's very active in the WNBA spaces and WNBA communities, it's kind of impossible to get away from Caitlin Clark. And again, like I mentioned last week, the fucking U.S. government's getting involved too now. So, like, again, there's no escaping the phenomenon, which is Caitlin Clark. But I kind of want to, I don't know, I want to talk about this from hopefully a unique perspective, and hopefully this will resonate with some people, and, you know, maybe, probably not, but maybe some people on the other side could understand where some of the criticism of Caitlin comes from. But regardless, I want to do a deep dive into the good, the bad, and the ugly of whiteness within black spaces. And I'm gonna use a couple of white figures to hopefully kind of elaborate on this thesis, and hopefully this makes sense to y'all. So when you start with the good of whiteness within black spaces, or as good as, you know, you can characterize it, if you will, there's always some challenges, but let's start with the good. You have Eminem within hip hop. So I talked about Eminem earlier today, and background on Eminem, just to be thorough and detailed. Eminem first came on the scene with his debut album, Infinite, which came out in 1996. Then in 97, he had an extended play, the Slim Shady EP. Then he signed with Dr. Dre's Aftermath Entertainment and blew the fuck up with the Slim Shady LP in 1999. I remember being someone who I actually, you know, if, you know, in my afterlife, if, you know, I get to, you know, get to heaven, if I get to talk to whoever the record keeper is and ask a whole bunch of useless information about my life, one of the useless things I really want to know is what hip hop album did I listen to more than any other hip hop album. And I'm pretty sure the recorder will tell me it was the Slim Shady LP, because boy, oh boy, did that do wonders for me. In 99, boy, oh boy, was that something that I had never heard. A fucking lyrical comic book on wax. Like, that was a piece of art that I had never seen, or there was anything like it. But yeah, Slim Shady LP came out in 99. Then his next two releases, the Marshall Mathers LP in 2000, the Eminem Show in 2002, both sold over 1 million copies in a single week, with the latter becoming the best-selling album worldwide in 2002 and the best-selling hip-hop album of all time. Then he came out with Encore in 2004, which was his first album with bad reviews, and Eminem ended up taking a hiatus because he was dealing with a drug addiction problem at the time. And he almost fucking died, as he later admitted later on in his career that he fucking almost died during that time period. Then he came back 5 years later in 2009 with Relapse, and then 2010 with Recovery. And then since then, Marshall Mathers LP2 in 2013, Revival in 2017, Kamikaze 2018, Music to be Murdered By in 2020, and then The Death of Slim Shady in 2024. And every last one of those albums debuted in the U.S. Billboard Top 200 chart. Eminem is the best-selling rapper of all time, and also, even outside of rap, he's one of the best-selling music artists of all times. He's estimated to have sold over 220 million albums over the course of his career since 99, when he officially, went mainstream. He has 11 number one albums on the Billboard 200 chart. He has 5 number one singles on Billboard Hot 100. He's one of the highest certified musicians in the United States. He has 7 diamond certifications, and diamond is when you have something that sells over 10 million copies, is when you hit diamond. And there's not too many in the hip hop world who could say that they have diamond records. I honestly think it's Eminem, it's 50 Cent with Get Rich or Die Trying, and I think it's Outkast with the Love Below Speaker Bots. I think those are the only diamond hip hop albums. Then outside of that, when you look over at awards, he has 15 Grammy Awards, a Primetime Emmy Award, 17 Billboard Music Awards, 15 MTV Video Music Awards. He's been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in his first year of eligibility, and Billboard named him the Artist of the 2000s, and Rolling Stones ranked him among the greatest artists and greatest songwriters of all time. Now, Eminem, if you don't know, is a white man who became extremely rich from black culture. Because again, hip hop, however you want to slice it, is black culture. Yes, there's some Latin culture in there too. I'm not trying to take away from y'all. I know that y'all played a part also in the Bronx when, it was first coming up. But DJ Kool Herc and, a lot of the initial forefathers, again, started off in the black community. And Eminem is loved by black people and by the hip hop culture. The majority of people, they love Eminem. He's universally respected as a dope MC. He's made a name for himself in the battle rap scene and underground before blowing up and becoming a household name. He essentially paid his dues within hip hop culture, and he isn't afraid to highlight that, to show that he came from the battle rap scene. That the movie 8 Mile, he made a fucking movie that got a whole bunch of accolades, and that was, even though he was playing a character, B Rabbit, that was loosely based off of his life coming up in the underground hip hop battle rap scene. He's always paid homage to foundational black MCs. Like when you ask Eminem about the greatest rappers of all time, he'll say Rakim, which, a lot of people say Rakim's one of the greatest. He says LL Cool J, who again is considered one of the greatest. And he calls out also Tretch from Naughty by Nature. And a lot of people don't know that Tretch is one of the fucking GOAT MCs too. Tretch is, a lot of people know him more for some of the Naughty by Nature songs that crossed over. You down with OPP? Yeah, you know me. But when it comes down to that spitting, Tretch was one of them dudes. He actively credits, those 3 in particular as, helped him. That's who he kind of paid homage to, and that's what he, created his style based around those 3 MCs. He's utilized his platform to elevate and sign black artists, Shady Records. He, signed a ton of acts from there. And one of the most famous was another rap superstar in 50 Cent. The world wouldn't have 50 Cent, who was blackballed from the industry at the time. 50 Cent was a bad word in hip hop for a long time. He was blackballed from the industry and nobody would sign him. And it took 50 Cent from New York flying all the way to the other side of the country for Eminem to be like, yo, Dre, we got to sign this dude. This dude is different. And 50 Cent, again, like I said, another one of those diamond selling artists. And again, he came from the tree of shady in Eminem. And Eminem, throughout his career, he's talked about racial injustice in America. He's done different ciphers calling out Trump, and he talked a lot of shit about Bush during his heyday. And he's kind of leveraged his unique position as a white megastar to critique systemic racism and defend black culture to a largely white fan base. Now, people who don't like Eminem, a lot of times they compare him to Elvis Presley, arguing that his whiteness is what allowed him to be marketed to the mainstream and middle American audiences, and that's how he got his record-breaking sales. And Eminem has also verbally and publicly admitted to the same exact thing. Eminem on the Eminem show has a song called White America, and on verse 2 he says, "Look at these eyes, baby blue, baby just like yourself. If they were brown, shady lose, shady sits on the shelf." Later on in that same verse he says, "Let's do the math. If I was black, I would have sold half. I ain't have to graduate from Lincoln High School to know that." Eminem has always been very open and honest about his white privilege. And that is part of the reason why, again, the culture, for the most part, again, it's never absolutes. Lower Jamar can't stand him. Benzino can't stand him. Benzino, of course, from Source Magazine, and Source Magazine was the hip hop Bible for a long while. But there are some people who still don't rock with Eminem. But for the most part, Eminem is respected with black people within hip hop culture. And I do think that Eminem is correct that if he was a black artist rapping the same exact way that he rapped as he was coming up, I don't think him saying that he would have sold half is even incorrect, because he wouldn't have sold 110 million copies. Because I have always said if Eminem was black, he'd be Redman. Yeah. Redman, who also is, from a cultural standpoint, considered one of the greatest MCs of all time. Redman has 9 solo albums and 4 collab albums. And if you take all those record sales and combine them, he's probably sold about 5 million records, give or take a couple million. But yeah, that's completely different accolades from Eminem, or what I rattled off. And again, Eminem got all that recognition and got some of those looks and got some of those pushes, and the machine got behind him in a way that we had never seen before with a hip hop artist, because Eminem was white. He was dope, but he was white. Now over to the bad. You have Elvis Presley. So Elvis Presley was born in 1935, died August 16th, 1977. And Elvis was an American singer and actor, and he's referred to as the king of rock and roll. He's widely regarded as the most culturally significant figures, or one of the most culturally significant figures of the 20th century. And Presley's energetic and sexually provocative performance style, combined with a mixture of influences across color lines during a transformative era in race relations, brought great success and a whole bunch of controversy. Now, when you go back to the late 50s, early 1960s, you had Nat King Cole, who had a number 7 song in 1959, number 1 song in 1961. You had Chuck Berry, who had a major hit with Maybelline in 1955. And in the 1950s, the U.S. was fraught with legal segregation and discrimination against African Americans, and especially in the Deep South. And credit to Wikipedia is where I'm getting all these Google facts from, if you will. But Presley, early on in his career, always publicly cited his debt to African-American music. He pointed to artists such as B.B. King, Arthur Big Boy Crudup, and Ivory Joe Hunter and Fats Domino as African-American musicians that he admired and he learned from. A reporter interviewed him. It was actually his first interview in New York City in 1956. And he noted that he named blues singers who obviously, you know, said that they meant a lot to him. And he said he was very surprised to hear, the reporter say he was very surprised to hear him talk about the black performers down there and about how he tried to carry on their music. Later that year in Charlotte, North Carolina, Presley was quoted as saying, "The colored folks been singing it and playing it just like I'm doing it now, man, for more years than I know. They played it like that in their shanties and in their juke joints, and nobody paid it no mind till I goosed it up. I got it from them." So again, similar to Eminem, Elvis Presley was like, yo, the black people paved the way. And I'm influenced by them, and I'm carrying on from their legacy. And thanks for rocking with me. But again, it's black people which got me here. But again, like I said, I categorize Elvis Presley in the bad category of whiteness and black spaces. Because to elaborate more, up until the mid-1950s, black artists had sold minuscule amounts of their recorded music, and especially when it came to like a national market potential. Yeah, black songwriters had limited horizons and could only barely make a living. Shit, quite frankly, there's so many stories of artists from back then who had these songs that will live forever, but they died poor. That was a very well-known thing in the early 1900s of some of these musicians. They made beautiful music that will play until the end of time, but they died poor. Presley, you know, purchased music of Otis Blackwell, African-American singer and songwriter, and had his Gladys Music Company hire talented black songwriter Claude Demetrius. And around that time, the industry underwent a dramatic change. And in the spring of 1957, Presley invited African-American performer Ivory Jo Hunter to visit Graceland, and the two spent the day together singing "I Almost Lost My Mind" and other songs. And of Presley, Hunter commented, "He showed me every courtesy, and I think he's one of the greatest." But again, like I said, this is in the 1950s. This is before the Civil Rights Movement in 1964, when America finally started to pretend like black people were human. This is a very ugly time period in America for racial tension and a racial divide. And racists attacked rock and roll because they felt that rock and roll influenced the mingling of black and white people, and applied and achieved because what they said was black music's power to corrupt through vulgar and animalistic rhythms. And it's funny because similar language is used when hip hop blew up. And with NWA, they said this music is too vulgar. It's animalistic. It's promoting violence. This is something, again, that they have always said with black music going back in time. Now, the popularity of Elvis Presley was, you know, he was in a transgressive position when it came to respect to racial and sexual boundaries. Because, again, you got to think back then, you know, things were very conservative. And even that shaking your hips, like that shit was like, whoa, getting a little sexual, buddy. Moving them hips like that, like that's almost like sex motion. Like, what are you doing right now? And unfortunately, what we saw happen a lot back then was there was white cover versions of hits by black musicians that then outsold the originals. Because back then, there weren't the music laws that were today. And then again, with things being as racist as things were back then, you would have a black artist who would then come out with a song, they'd record it. It would kind of blow up regionally where, you know, in the different juke joints, the black people were rocking with it. And then white people would hear it. And then they'd be like, oh, I like that song. And then white people would cover it. And then they would put it out on national radio. And then they would sell more records. They didn't create any of these songs. They took these from black artists. And as the saying goes back then, Americans wanted black music, but without the black people in it. And Elvis was someone who, while he did take from black artists, he also made sure to highlight, yo, I have to pay my respects to the people who paved the way for me to get here and the people who influenced me and the people who I emulate. Shouts out to blackness. Now, unfortunately, around 1957, Elvis Presley had to start defending himself from claims of being racist, as he was alleged to have said, "The only thing Negro people can do for me is buy my records and shine my shoes." The singer always denied saying that. And Jet Magazine, is an African-American, publication, did claim to investigate the story, and they found no basis to the claim. So even though that is a remark that is always coined to Elvis Presley, there is actually no proof that he specifically said that. And it might have been some of those guerrilla warfare tactics of people, spreading stories to kind of, maybe that's what it was to try to start that divide between Elvis Presley and the black community. And it quite frankly, it worked, because you could look at someone like Chuck D, for instance, from Public Enemy, and on, I think it was Fight the Power, Elvis was a hero to most, but he never meant shit to me. Like, there were a lot of pro-black people who didn't fuck with Elvis, and to this day, like, I am someone who, the same thing, I have a friend, a Hispanic friend, who is very big into music. They listen to a lot of rock, a lot of they listen to a lot of music in general. They kind of similar to me, just love music, but they, lean heavy towards like rock and alternative and kind of, guitars, bands, and different things like that. And they have a picture of Elvis Presley up on their wall. And I remember the first time I saw it, I was kind of taken aback. Like, oh shit, you got that racist on your wall? But then I had to kind of like check myself, like, wait, we never got official proof that he was racist. It's just kind of one of those folklores that unfortunately always stayed with him. And as I said, yeah, Elvis rose to fame in a troubled part of racial tension within America. And no matter how much he highlighted the black artists that he learned from, and no matter how much they tried to highlight this in feature films and documentaries about him, your average American citizen will always tell you that Elvis is the king of rock. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. And it's because of that, even though, he learned from black artists, emulated black performers, he sold more records because he had access to platforms that those black artists did not have the same access to. And it's kind of like, again, they wanted black music without the black people doing it. So Elvis did it, and then the white people used their platforms to highlight him. And then because they highlighted him on their platforms, they then dubbed him as the king. It's the system creating their own heroes, propping their own people up, and then saying, how can you not say that person is the king? Look, they're at the top of our pedestal. And it's like, it's because they're at the top of the system that you created, that you benefit from. If we had the same access to those same resources and all that, maybe it's Chuck Berry, maybe it's Little Richard, maybe it's Nat King Cole. There's a lot of people that, could have been B.B. King, but we didn't have those same platforms. So you use your system to prop up a certain person, and then you use your own metrics to say that person is the best. And that is the bad of Elvis. And now moving over to the ugly, because things are quite frankly getting ugly, and I don't mean this woman's looks at all. It is not an inside joke. But the situation with Caitlin Clark is ugly. And she's not helping the situation. And that's part of the reason why I think it's ugly, and it has the unfortunate ability to possibly get even uglier. So Caitlin Clark, WNBA player for the Indiana Fever, little background on her. So first off, she's regarded as one of the greatest female collegiate players. She was named twice. She was named to the National College Basketball Player of the Year while playing for the Iowa Hawkeyes. She's a NCAA Division I all-time leading scorer. She's known for her shooting range, her playmaking, her flair. She's dubbed as helping to popularize women's basketball, and they call it the Caitlin Clark effect. Now, Clark attended Dowling Catholic High School in her hometown of West Des Moines, Iowa, where she was named a McDonald's All-American, and she was rated the 4th best player in her class by ESPN when she was in high school. Her freshman season with Iowa, she led the NCAA Division I in scoring and earned All-American honors. As a sophomore, Clark became the first women's player to lead Division I in points and assists in a single season. In her junior season, she was the National Player of the Year and led Iowa to its first national championship game, again leading Division I in assists and setting Big Ten single-season marks in points and assists. And as a senior, she repeated as National Player of the Year and helped Iowa return to the national title game. But they didn't win, but she helped them back-to-back times up there. She also set a Division I women's career single-season records in points and three-pointers, and she broke the conference record in assists and led the nation in points and assists. Now, over to her professional career, she was selected first overall by the Indiana Fever in the 2024 WNBA draft. Quite frankly, I think all of us saw that as a no-brainer. She was clearly who should be the number one pick, and she quickly emerged as a star, and she was the WNBA Rookie of the Year. She was all WNBA first team honors her first season. She also set the league single season and single game records and assists, broke the rookie scoring record, and became the first rookie to achieve a triple-double in WNBA history. Now, I've mentioned before that Caitlin Clark became a household name during the 2023 NCAA Women's National Game when Iowa played against Angel Reese and the LSU Tigers, and you had that viral moment where Angel Reese hit her back with the "You Can't See Me," and that is the taunt, that is the picture that went viral, that then started a ton of online debate, and it got a whole bunch of media attention. And me being someone who's chronically online and pattern recognition and just kind of, remembering things as they happen in real time, a lot of this was fueled by Barstool Sports. Now, Barstool Sports had extensive coverage of Caitlin Clark over those last couple years of her time in college. They absolutely loved Caitlin. They loved her no-nonsense attitude, and that's where a lot of the clips I started seeing of Caitlin, and again, going back to Raven Johnson when she was wide open at the three-point line, Caitlin waved her off and walked off. It was like, yo, who's this American Jane-looking white girl, with this attitude? Like, holy shit, what is this? And Barstool was one of the leading media companies that was really promoting Caitlin Clark. And then furthermore, when that game happened, founder Dave Portnoy on the flagship podcast, Pardon My Take, after that game and after Angel Reese hit her with the "You Can't See Me," Dave Portnoy on that podcast had called what Angel Reese did at the ring pointing and the "You Can't See Me" gestures, he called it classless. And I remember when that went viral of him calling it classless, because then a lot of people on social media started bringing those clips back up of when Caitlin did it, and he loved it, and he was eating it up, and oh my God, I love this. Oh, look, oh, no nonsense. Oh, that's the problem in sports nowadays. Everybody's friends, but look at her competitive edge. And they loved it. But then when someone did it to her, all of a sudden they were classless, and he had negative things to say about Angel Reese. And then, like I have detailed, this is when the conversation shifted and became a racial dynamic online, because then people, again, if you say this when this person does this, and you say that when that person does it, and then you won't elaborate any further, we have to come to our own conclusions. And our own conclusions was, you white man like when the white girl did it, but didn't like when the black girl did it. So this must be a racial thing. Now, like I said, that kind of shifted the platform, and I think that Barstool leaned into the discourse that was happening because, again, as I said, the algorithm is based off of engagement. It can't gauge, which videos you really like. It gauges what are you liking, what are you reposting, what are you commenting and arguing and going back and forth with. Oh, that's the thing that's getting you going. That's the thing that we're going to pump into the algorithm. If you're a person who creates that rage bait content, you're going to get people who fall into that trap that engage with that. And Barstool was at the forefront of this cultural war in these online debates, and that game had record-breaking views, and they capitalized off of that. And they capitalized off of that culture war, and they helped to push that narrative because, again, they were getting engagement dollars, and they were getting numbers from being on the Caitlyn side of things. Now, like I said, heated discussions happen online. I know I was part of those discussions without even fucking realizing it. I was feeding into this beast of the algorithm, and this became a reoccurring topic on Barstool's network and blog post. And then all of that energy carried into the WNBA. And in what I believe was the first matchup between Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, but don't quote me on that. But in May 2025, Angel Reese, who at the time played for the Chicago Sky, they had a game against the Indiana Fever, and Dave Portnoy was one of the people in the front row, and he was famously yelling stuff. And there was a point when Angel Reese, there was a foul call that sent Angel Reese to the line. I'm trying to remember. May have been a technical, may have been like a regular foul. I can't remember exactly what it was, but Angel Reese, the image that lingers in my head was Angel Reese at the free throw line. Dave Portnoy, who was damn near lined up exactly with that free throw line, was standing up yelling stuff. You could clearly see he was the only person standing up yelling. And unfortunately, that became a viral video clip. As the video started to circulate online, you could hear what sounded like monkey noises being made while Angel was shooting free throws. Now, it later on came out because, again, things happen and we as humans react emotionally. So the video came out. You hear monkey noises, and then a bunch of people were like, holy shit, Dave Portnoy, he's already a suspected white supremacist. This motherfucker is racist. He's making monkey noises. The WNBA issued a statement. They started investigating it. Dave Portnoy said that, it was total bullshit. It was internet trolling. He said that he was just shouting, the ball don't lie. And then it did come out that somebody did insert those noises to make it sound like someone was making those noises. So someone played into the racial tension that was already at play between those two players, and they played into it. We fell into it, and the algorithm pushed that content out, and we got another viral moment and a whole bunch of engagement of us arguing back and forth about racism and racist shit going on between Caitlyn and Angel Reese. Now, these issues, continued within that arena and continued online with Indiana Fever fans ever since Caitlyn got in the league. Alyssa Thomas, who we talked about a couple episodes ago, back a couple years ago when she was on the Connecticut Sun, actually in September 2024, she called out the Indiana Fever fan base, stating that she had never experienced such severe racial comments and abusive behavior in her 11-year career. She had been in the league for over a decade, never started experiencing the racism and hearing the shit that she was hearing until a certain person's fan base started to infiltrate that Indiana Fever fan base. Sanaya Rivers is someone who also played for the Connecticut Sun that season, and actually this was in July 2025. There was a game where she got a fan ejected. It was the second quarter of the game. Sanaya came over to inbound the ball near the sideline, and there was a fan who was wearing a Caitlin Clark jersey. That fan turned out to be an off-duty police officer, so no surprise. They said something inappropriate or something that Sanaya took as inappropriate. She immediately stepped away, had an intense conversation with the game refs, who then officials and arena security promptly identified who the fan was and got him out of the building. She didn't say exactly what the guy said. She just, said it was inappropriate, and the security deemed it enough to kick her out. And then recently, we talked about that with Chelsea Gray, who did the basketball move where she was fighting for position, and she received racist direct messages from Indiana Fever fans following that game. And once it leaked who the woman was and people, did their due diligence to find it out, the employer ended up firing that person. Countless WNBA women have shared screenshots of similar instances on social media. And even I have experienced that. Anytime you say anything critical of Caitlin Clark, you could best believe your mentions are going to blow up with people making racist comments towards you or black people in general. Caitlin Clark has a bad shooting night. I say something about that, and all of a sudden people are in my replies talking about black on black crime. What this has to do with women's basketball, I have no idea. Now, I will say when it comes to Caitlin Clark, she hasn't been 100% silent about these situations. In June of 2024, she had said, people should not be using my name to push those agendas. It's disappointing. It's not acceptable. When she was asked about the comments, she said that treating every single woman in this league with the same amount of respect was important to her. And she said, I think it's just a basic human thing that everybody should do. She continued and said, I don't put too much thought and time into thinking about things like that. And to be honest, I don't see a lot of it. She said, basketball is my job. Everything on the outside, I can't control that. So I'm not going to spend my time thinking about that. And I think that was a horrible way to respond. Caitlin Clark has said this multiple times over the course of her career that she's not active on social media, and kudos to anybody who's not active on social media. Doom scrolling for dopamine and just some of the toxicity of social media can be a lot for the brain, the emotion, and your self-esteem and all that. But that is the internet today. But I feel like that response that she had in June of 2024, I felt that was horrible because she minimized racism to those agendas. And I feel that she kind of showcased her privilege by saying that she doesn't put much thought into it. She's not going to spend much time thinking about it. And she's basically saying, hey, this doesn't hurt me or my family, so I'm simply going to ignore it. I talked about that on the last episode about, some of the racial harm with some of the stuff that Chelsea Green, the WWE star, did with that Sophia Cunningham pointing, and she kind of did the same thing. She deactivated her account and ran back home to ignore it, and that's part of white privilege, being able to say, oh, I don't want to get involved in any of those racial conversations. I'm gonna go ahead and leave until those conversations end. That's not the proper way to respond. As we have said, in this new world that we live in, not being racist is not enough. You have to be anti-racist. And by just ignoring things, you're not helping the situation. That same year, actually in September of 2024, following the season end, she spoke about it again and about the targeted harassment of WNBA players. And she said, nobody in our league should be facing any sort of racism, hurtful, disrespectful, hateful comments and threats. Those aren't fans. Those are trolls. And again, I feel that was a horrible response. This is, again, minimizing the offenders and trying to say that, hey, those are just trolls. Those are not fans. Just do what I do and ignore it. And no, I'm sorry, baby girl. Those are your fans. Whether you accept them or not, these are people in your name spreading very hateful shit online. These people come to your games because several WNBA players, I mentioned Sanaya Rivers getting someone kicked out. Alyssa Thomas talking about the racial shit that she was hearing from their fans in those arenas. She's never heard shit like that before. Those are your fans. Those are the people who buy your merchandise. Those are the online soldiers that hop in the comment sections. Anytime anyone says anything other than you're the greatest thing ever, those are the people who hop in and they promote your name. They speak on your behalf. And then earlier this month, episode or two ago, there was a whole Alyssa Thomas receiving death threats after the loose ball foul. And as I had mentioned, Caitlin Clark as well as Stephanie White had some things to say, but they both started off their press conferences with kind of giving their prepared statements about the situation, which I felt was, their way to kind of control the narrative around the story and not be asked questions that they weren't prepared to answer, which they would then, possibly say something incorrect. So it was like, hey, I'm going to start this off. I'm going to address the elephant in the room. This is what I got to say. All right, cool. I said that. Now, can we talk about some other stuff? That's a good way from a PR perspective to kind of control the narrative and make sure that things don't, get out of control and that you can kind of guide what we're actually talking about in this conversation. Then yesterday, Friday night, July 17th, something else happened at the WNBA as Atlanta Dream, which is the new team that Angel Reese plays for, took on the Toronto Tempo. And I believe it was in the fourth quarter with about 3 minutes left to play. Naraya Sabley was called for a defensive foul on Angel Reese, but during the foul, Sabley fell to the floor and required attention from the Toronto medical staff. In the video, you can see, the teammates kind of huddle around her, holding the towel up for privacy, while, the medical staff was tending to her. And the Toronto Tempo's coach, Sandy Brondello, can be heard yelling at the official, Tony Patello. And in referencing Angel Reese, she called her a protected species. Now, I have never heard that, calling someone a protective species, but I can say that in having conversations with women, that is one of the reasons why women get offended if you refer to them as females, because females can be any species. So what are you talking about? A female dog? Are you talking about a female kangaroo in this instance with Sandy Bordella being, Australian? That's the reason why you refer to women as women, because you're talking about human women. You shouldn't refer to them as females because you're delegating them to species, and then you're kind of taking the humanity out of them as a person. So that's where some of that species jargon comes from, where women get upset when you call them a female. And so, again, Sandy Brondello said, she's a protected species, and Angel Reese reshared a post on Twitter referencing Brondello's comment, and then in all caps, Angel Reese said, "Are we surprised?" with a clown emoji, and she tagged Brondella on the account to be like, "Hey, bitch, I'm responding back to you." Want to make sure this is clear. This ain't no sub. I'm talking directly to you. Now, Coach Brondello took to Twitter this morning and tweeted an apology stating, "Angel, I'm sorry. Last night, in the emotion of the moment after Naraya's injury, I used a phrase that I shouldn't have used, and I take full responsibility for that. My frustration was with the officiating, but my words unfairly put the focus on you. I also understand that my words carried an impact beyond what I intended, particularly for Black women in our league, and I am deeply sorry for that. I spent my career competing with, coaching, and learning from incredible Black women. I regret that my words cause hurt to a community I respect so deeply. I have a lot of respect for you as both a player and a person. I sincerely apologize to you, your teammates, and the Dream organization for my comment." Now, whether you accept her apology or not, that's not really the reason why I bring this up. I bring this up because I feel that's the approach that you're supposed to take with something that was perceived as racist towards a Black woman. The way Sandy Brondello approached that is the way that I feel like Caitlin Clark should have started addressing this from day one. Coach Brondello took responsibility, says how she understands how those words may impact a Black woman in the league. And beyond what she said that, she meant, she centered Black women and how hurtful what she said can be to that community. She didn't hop online and was like, hey, I don't care how you took it. You know, within Australia, when we say someone's a protected species, we're saying that they get preferential treatment from match officials. Yes, I did my Googles to figure out what protected species mean. And again, Sandy Brondello is Australian. And so in Australia, it means preferential treatment for a player by the match officials. But again, Sandy Brondello didn't get defensive and didn't deflect and say, well, where I come from, it means this. So you need to check your emotions. No, she said, shit, you know what? I shouldn't have said that. And that was harmful for me to say that to a black woman. And I understand how that could impact the black community. And I've learned and grown and just worked with so many incredible black women that I don't want to ever put myself in a position where y'all think I'm being disrespectful black women. So I'm going to just nip it in the bud. I'm going to apologize. That's the difference in approaches here, as opposed to Caitlyn of, hey, I don't really pay attention to none of that. Hey, we should just ignore that. Hey, those are just trolls. Like, why do we care anyway? Like, oh my God, why do we have to keep bringing this up? Like, can we just, like, basketball's my job. Can we just do this? That is why the majority of black people who don't like Caitlin Clark, that's the reason why we have grown to dislike her. You know, it started off with, you know, people fucking dick riding and, you know, she's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And even I'm someone, take Caitlin Clark out of the discussion. I have always been the type of person who, if I feel people are being overhyped, I'm critical of. I'd go back to my WWE days as a kid during the Attitude Era while everyone loved The Rock and everyone liked Stone Cold. I was rocking with Triple H because it was like, while all y'all like this popular dude, I like this workhorse over here that ain't nobody talking about. I've always been the type of person like, oh, y'all are overhyping that. I'm over on this person that, you know, they may not be the most popular, but they got that skill set. And then I'm the same way of people when I see someone who I think people are overcritical of. That's part of the reason why I'm such a LeBron apologist, and the reason why I love getting in debates when people talk about Jordan. That's the reason why I'm always like, yo, LeBron is greater than Jordan. Do I care? I don't really give a fuck. But some people are way too critical of LeBron, so I find myself having to defend him. And so in the same breath, a lot of the stuff with Caitlyn, it was simply because y'all kept hyping her up as the greatest thing ever and how she was going to get to the WNBA and show these black bitches how it's done. And that has not been the case. She had a great rookie year, but then her second year, she spent the majority of the time not playing injured. And a lot of people, me included, questioned how injured she actually was because, again, there was that Valkyrie's game that Valkyrie figured out, oh, if you just force her to go right, she's not good shooting. She shoots going to the left. That's her thing. She's comfortable going to the left, but if you force her to go right, those shooting percentages drop. And then a bunch of people started replicating that. And then she had that string where it was like the worst fucking 3-point shooting percentage at that volume in the history of the WNBA ever. And then it was like, once that story started to circulate, oh, she got pulled out for the season. And some could argue that it was because, oh shit, this money-making machine is starting to look bad. Let's just go ahead and say she's injured and we're going to pack her up for the rest of the season and hope she gets her shit together for next season. And we started to see it again where Caitlyn was struggling. And then I feel as if Caitlyn, as of recently, the pressure has been on. She's, again, missed a couple of games. They had the third game they were about to play against the Phoenix Mercury, and then she's been dealing with this back issue. And then it was like a week before, they were like, oh, her back is going to be good to play on Wednesday, but it won't be good to play on Thursday. And then Leah Boston, she has this injury that for some reason is going to make her not be able to play on Wednesday, but she'll be good by Thursday. And it was like, wait, what are y'all doing? And even there was that Indiana Fever media guy who I can't remember his name, but he was like one of the longest running journalists for the Indiana Fever, and he had his credentials removed because there was a game where Caitlin Clark was scheduled to play, and it was like an hour before the game started. She got pulled off the roster, and they said that she was out, and he questioned why she got pulled, and he questioned if she was actually truly injured, and the Indiana Fever pulled his media credential, and he had been the longest running journalist for Indiana Fever, and he had the audacity to question if Caitlin Clark was actually injured, and now he has no access to the team anymore. Now, part of the reason why I said I'm concerned that Caitlyn, I'm starting to wonder if she's using this privilege is, again, you go back to the loose ball foul from Alyssa Thomas, which they turned into the punch to the throat, and you had House Republicans come out asking the WNBA to do something. And then it was a couple games later, as I mentioned, Chelsea Green was fighting for position. She was pivoting. It's a known basketball move. You kind of pivot. You try to get the defensive player to bite to something, so then you could use your offensive skills to get around and try to get a shot up. And Caitlyn had her arms down. And again, anybody who knows basketball, coaches always teach you, keep your hands. If your hands are straight up, they're not going to call a foul. But if you have your hands down like this and the shooting offensive player goes up into your arms, they're going to call a foul 9 times out of 10. They called the foul on Caitlyn. If you watch that clip back, Caitlyn is guarding her. She has her hands down. Chelsea sees the slip in defensive knowledge there. She goes up. She draws the foul. Caitlin Clark watches the ball to see if the ball goes in. The ball goes in, and then Caitlyn looks and then drops to the floor and holds her stomach and starts doing her white woman tears. And it was interesting because if that pivot hit to your chest hurt so much, it's weird that you had the delayed reaction of seeing if the ball went in or not before you drop down to the ground, because maybe if the foul doesn't get called and then if the shot is missed, it turns into a transition, then you could run in transition to get possibly an open layup, because now the person that, should be defending you on the other end is on the floor. It's as if now when there was a stoppage, let me just try to act like this woman just harmed me. And the refs did review to see if Chelsea did anything flagrant, and it was found that there was nothing flagrant. It was a fucking defensive foul by Caitlyn. Then a couple games after that, the Indiana Fever is playing the Valkyrie, and there's a play where Caitlyn is going up for a layup. It's in transition. She's going for a layup. Kia Stokes is guarding her, and Caitlyn, you could see, extends her left arm. Caitlyn has the ball in her right hand. She extends her left arm. She pushes off as they go up for the layup. Kia Stokes blocks the shot. Caitlyn falls to the floor and again immediately looks at the ref like, yo, you didn't call that foul. And then Caitlyn gets up and she's starting to limp, and she's running back on the court, and she's like moving around gingerly while she's on defense like she's hurt. And then there's a shot by the Valkyrie, and the Caitlin Clark from the angle looks like the closest person to the ball, and any coach is going to tell you when that ball goes up, you go for the rebound. Caitlin looks, the ball is missed. Caitlin doesn't attempt to go for a rebound at all. Maybe it's because, again, her ginger, thigh, if you will, but the whistle is blown, and Caitlyn turns around and she angrily throws her arm and profusely starts cussing at the ref about, why didn't you call the foul over there? Because she hit me with her knee in my thigh. And again, as she's aggressively approaching the ref, her thigh doesn't hurt all of a sudden. It's, again, as if you were trying to get sympathy and, oh, look, I'm the injured white girl, and look what these angry black lesbians did to me again. And then, like I said, she cussed out the ref, and if you missed it, the ref was a black woman. Just like the black woman who was one of the assistant coaches that was on the bench that a few weeks ago, the black assistant coach is trying to talk to Caitlyn about something on the bench, and Caitlyn is throwing a hissy fit, pissed off that this black woman had the audacity to, try to tell her something. And maybe it's nothing, but just Caitlyn has a lot to say to black women who are in positions of authority trying to tell her something. She gets very pissed when they don't see things her way. And then after, similar to the fucking Alyssa Thomas elbow to the throat, after that Valkyrie's game, there was fucking AI clips of Kia swinging her knee aggressively and hitting Caitlyn in the thigh. There was a picture I saw of Caitlyn's thigh muscle circled, and someone was like, oh, look, there's the contusion there. And it's just like, no, that's her fucking thigh muscle. Like, that thigh looks exactly like the other thigh. There's no bruising or nothing. That's like the shadow from like the knee and the muscle, and like it looks the exact same on the other side. So how is that proof of a contusion? You just circled some shit and just say, oh, believe this thing I said. And then again, there was more and more videos and YouTube things and clips of fucking AI or videos of people saying, hey, look, Caitlin Clark is getting the shit beat out of her by these black lesbian bitches in the WNBA. And then last night, the Indiana Fever played the Seattle Storm, who, for context, I have to say the Seattle Storm is one of, if not the worst team in the league right now. I know them, and I believe the Connecticut Sun, could be the Mercury, I can't remember, have the least amount of wins. But if I remember correctly, the Seattle Storm had lost more games. So, like, I believe by definition, they're the worst team in the league right now. But Caitlin Clark last night scored a career high 45 points in that game. But I have to call out, and I have to call this out, not because she's white. I have to call this out because we do the same exact thing in the NBA with SGA. She went to the free throw line and shot 19 free throws and made 17 of them. So 17 of those 45 points was from the free throw line. If I remember correctly from the NBA season, when SGA does that, we call him a free throw merchant, and we talk about how he plays unethical basketball. But Caitlin Clark did it last night, and ESPN and everybody is covering it. Record-breaking, incredible, never-before-seen thing in the WNBA. Oh, my God, our savior has returned. Again, against the worst team in the WNBA, and they needed every fucking bit of those 45 points for the Indiana Fever to win that game. One of the highlight reels too, and again, I'm not a ref, but like there was a clip of them doing like the replay of like this defensive stop that she did, and then this 3-pointer she made on the other end, and Flau J, I always forget how to pronounce her first name. My apologies, but Flo for the Seattle Storm is going up for a layup, and then Caitlin Clark goes to swipe the ball, and she does get hand. I do believe that the hand is considered an extension of the ball, and then if you get up to the wrist and upper arm part, that's when it's considered a foul. But it's like it's in that range of like the hand wrist area. But anyway, that was the clip going around as she got that defensive stop, and then on the other end she does her sidestep and hits the three. But that sidestep, she took about 4 to 5 steps before she made the shot. No foul was called on that end. No travel was called on this end. There was another play where they got a steal and they passed it to Caitlin. And she, again, took 4 or 5 steps to the left, which created a lot of room. And then she hit a 3-pointer. None was called. And it's almost as if last night the whistle was in her favor. It's kind of like after Congress complained, we had multiple games back to back to back of Caitlin complaining about not being treated fairly until finally against the Seattle Storm, the refs either got to it or Kathy and fucking Adam Silver, who's in Kathy's ear, somebody said something, and the whistle was on Caitlin's behalf last night. And would you look at that? She scored 45 points as a result. And this is what we mean about weaponizing whiteness. Is she doing it on purpose? Only she knows, but she damn sure isn't directly saying something against it that would then cause these people not to go to war on her behalf. And hell, even Kareem Abdul-Jabbar recently, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, again, one of the greatest basketball players of all time. He had the all-time scoring record before LeBron broke it recently. He was in an interview, and he had said that calling Caitlin Clark the face of the WNBA insults other players, to which I saw a ton of hate, a ton of people online, including David Portnoy, who I mentioned earlier, all began to say that Kareem is jealous of Caitlin Clark. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, one of the greatest basketball players of all time, is actually jealous of this third-year WNBA player. I got into a debate with someone on Twitter recently, and basically it was a tweet about Adam Silver, because it came out that Adam Silver was the one that had something to do with Alyssa Thomas getting suspended. He was the one that basically gave Kathy a call and said something to her about she needs to do something to punish Alyssa Thomas, and the Sports Business Journal did a report on it. And so Adam Silver, while he was speaking at CNBC in reference to the Sports Business Journal report, said that he intervened in WNBA suspension of Alyssa Thomas, but he was not going to comment on that because he didn't think it was fair to Caitlyn, and it's not fair to Kathy Engelbert either. That's not the real issue here. And I responded to that tweet, and I said, I guess it's fair then that AT received death threats. Like, fuck out of here. Like, what is we talking about? Like, yes, again, I get it that you don't want to say something particularly because you know that, you know, this is going to cause some online hate towards Caitlyn and the WNBA commissioner, Kathy. But what about the online hate and the death threat that these black women keep fucking getting? And I posted that, and then a white progressive woman who I talked on the last podcast. I've talked about some of the dangers with white progressives who get so progressive that they participate in racism but think that they can't possibly be racist because they're progressive.
I believe that white progressives cause the most daily damage to people of color. And I define a white progressive as any white person who thinks he or she is not racist, or is less racist, or is in the choir, or already gets it. White progressives can be the most difficult for people of color because to the degree that we think we have it, we're going to put all of our energy into making sure you think that we have it, and none of it into what we need to be doing for the rest of our lives, right? White progressives do indeed uphold and perpetrate racism, but our defensiveness and certitude make it virtually impossible to explain to us how we do so.
How hot is hot?
A white progressive woman responded to my mention about AT receiving death threats. And she responded, she said, I mean, so does Caitlyn. It's weird how no one ever wants to talk about that side of it. She gets a literal shit ton of hate. Some of the most vile shit I've seen online is directed at her and her teammates. To which I responded and concluded, and yet it's interesting that all of this started with death threats towards Angel after the LSU-Iowa championship game. It's almost as if her fans got ugly with black women, so people started to get ugly back. But now y'all want to play historical revisionism. I then, proceeded to, because some people, a lot of people say some bullshit or hop in and it's like, this is a fucking troll account. I'm going to go ahead and mute it. But some people I see that they have, a laundry list of tweets and they have some type of internet personality. And so a lot of times I'll, review their timeline because I want to get an understanding of the person I'm engaging with, of where they stand, because sometimes, maybe we can actually further the conversation, or sometimes it's not worth me wasting my time having a conversation with you. But I clicked on that woman's page. I was kind of scrolling through it, and that, again, is how I figured out she was a white progressive woman. I did some searches to see what she had to say about Trump and what she had to say about Kamala and some other things. It was, okay. I kind of get a gist of where your politics land, if you will. She was one of those, both sides are just as bad, ceasefire is not enough. She's one of those that, I kind of talked about a while ago on the trans identity versus whiteness topic during the Chut the Builder stuff. But I went to her page, and again, speaking about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, I saw that she had commented on that, and she had said, fuck's sake, I am so sick of this bullshit. By every single available measurable metric, she is the face of the league. That's just the facts. She is easily the most recognizable women's basketball player on planet Earth. Ticket sales, merchandise sales, viewership ratings, social media hits, YouTube rankings, etc. All of it says the same thing, ... etc., on and on and on. And to that, my closing statement is Caitlin Clark is to the WNBA what Eminem is to hip hop and what Elvis was to rock and roll. A white American shows talent in a predominantly black space. White people in droves gravitate to said person because now they have someone to relate to. And they use the metrics of their own buying power to explain to others how that person is now the face of said art form and demand that person be respected as such. You know, who cares how long those before them spent time working on said craft with none of the same access to resources or visibility? Much like Elvis got radio play on large radio stations who refused to play the same songs that were created by black artists, much like Eminem being featured on magazines and TV shows who never paid attention to hip-hop unless it was to highlight something negative, Caitlin Clark now benefits from national game placements on nights where the Indiana Fevers are their only game on TV, while other people have to pick between 5 or 6 different WNBA games that are playing simultaneously, or the team that we like, they have a game that comes on at noon on a workday. These people will never see how they play in a system that is rigged for themselves and will continue to act like victims when those who are not of the dominant society have a different opinion as them. Shit's crazy, son. And that is the good, the bad, and the ugly of whiteness in black spaces. Until next time.
Rushing down the streets and you ain't by. Let's go. Burn the system down and start a fire. Marching down the streets and you invited. Fist up in the air and put it higher. We the people gotta stay united.
Then I defend the post, I just might dispose of these CEOs. They just gotta go eating the rich cause we dying of hunger pain. Swear that we living inside of the Hunger Games. This a monopoly playing the money game. You wanna white picket fence on a sunny day, huh? Your favorite rapper probably went to Diddy parties. It's decided we don't side with any parties, no. Republican, Democrat, this be the death of that. It's time to settle that. Molotov in my hand, make them all scared again. Collective consciousness, it's time to rise again. Rich in the Zionists, this is the final and end in the IOFN and the Zionists. You a lion in bed with liars and straight supplying with guns and violence. It's no surprise that we reach the lions, then light the fire, then we can rise again. They keep provoking our freedom. Under the rubble we breathing. The people that gave me a reason, I will not stop till I free them. See the signs, they feed us lies and redefine where freedom lies. We need to rise, we can't comply with genocide. These greedy minds will suit and ties will meet the minds. Better watch your back because the people heading up. People been sleeping, now it's time to wake them all up.
Burn the system down and start a fire. Marching down the streets and you invited. Fist up in the air and put it higher. We the people gotta stay united.
First things first, free Gaza. I need Elon's body dropping. I need TNT in Congress. I need Luigi in my roster. Getting janitorial, got no street sweeper. Big fan of dead leaders, VIP meet and greet them. Treat any money mo, how I treat my CEO like Bird. But all I can see now is just the other day I was scrolling on my phone though, trying to cope with the notion that I'm culpable. Saw the Charlie Powell met the POTUS with a locomotive. Band together first, then focus on your locomotive. 756, really it's a low total. Come get in the mix. Teach you how to toe the pole, walking with a stick. Hits up from a stone's throw since you love big tech. Got forward. Hit a 187 on a piggy if you want to make a difference. SpaceX ain't the only ones with a mission. My team got the rockets out and used to try to catch them all. Trying to decimate the deficit down to the very last decimal. Look, I don't know how to balance a budget, but I know how to take every last ounce of blood out of your stomach. I feel like Neo would have played with me. I ain't the one. I said I am the sun. I am the place. But I'm the side of my country. Denying the fun, divine with the timing, compliant. I'm not the pious, go try me. I'm lighting them up. Say, give me the mic. I am live from the mud. What they may say? It's on the hook. What the kids say? It's on the truck.
Burn the system down and start a fire. Marching down the streets and you invited. Fist up in the air and put it higher. We the people gotta stay united. Burn the system down and start a fire. Marching down the streets and you invited. Fist up in the air and put it higher. We the people gotta stay united.
Yo, what the fuck is this? Another post-credit scene? This nigga really think he Marvel now. Doing these fucking 3-hour productions and then the shit ends and the credit ends and the music stops playing and you still fucking talking. Nigga, shut the fuck up. Yo, on the real, I just wanted to shout out the Neighborhood Kids and Damage. That outro song, Start a Fire. They did a updated video because it was the 1-year anniversary of that record, and when that record dropped, it like went extremely fucking viral because right-wing Twitter got a hold of that record and did not like all that burn the government shit that they was talking about. And the Neighborhood Kids is 2 Native American rappers, and then Damage, of course, being transgender. Like, that was a moment on the interwebs. And again, like I said, the fucking right had a fit. But yeah, the anniversary just came up. They posted like a 1-year anniversary video, and then I posted that because technically I'm in that music video. Technically. Now, you could comb through all the footage and you won't fucking see me at all. But the footage that they used of Damage live performance when she had the Good Girl shirt on, that was actually out here at the Rebel Lounge, and I was in the audience for that show, but I was just outside of the camera. But by definition, I was on that historic anniversary video, so I wanted to play that and also, you know, kind of fit in with the theme of the show. So, yeah, there's a little lore at the end, and I promise I'll shut the fuck up at this point. I'm pretty sure ain't nobody listening to this shit at this point, but hey.